2007, when I was a young infantry sergeant in the Marine Corps, myself and some machine gunners I served in Fallujah and Ramadi with were on our third deployment. We were in a naval vessel and we pulled in for a Liberty port in Split, Croatia. We went ashore to do the thing that young Marines do, which tends to be carousing and sometimes getting tattoos. We wanted to get something that represented our jobs, our service, fighting in Fallujah and Ramadi as machine gunners. We went ashore, we found a tattoo parlor after a fair amount of heavy carousing, and we found a tattoo on the wall, a piece of flash that looked like a terrifying skull and crossbones. We thought it looked cool, and so we got it. I have had this tattoo for the last 18 years. I re-enlisted into the United States Army with this tattoo, where I was screened for hate and gang-related tattoos. I worked for the State Department as a contractor, where I got a full physical, which included screening my tattoos. I've gone through life with this thing, taking my shirt off, having photographs taken, videos taken. I've been very, very open in my life with the fact that I had a skull and crossbones on my chest, because that's what I thought it was. It's come to my attention that it has a stark resemblance to a symbol that is used by neo-Nazis. And I want to say that was not the intent at all. And the idea that I've been going around with something like that utterly horrifies me. I know that symbols like this can be incredibly damaging to people, and the idea that I've had it all these years and it could have been read like that is incredibly troubling. I have lived a life dedicated to anti-fascism, anti-racism, and anti-Nazism. I think that racism and anti-Semitism are a long scourge on our society and a long scourge on our politics, and I think it has no place in our world. For that reason, I have gone and gotten it covered up. Last night, I went to a tattoo parlor and I got this to cover up the skull and crossbones. It's a Celtic knot with some imagery around dogs, because my wife Amy and I have two wonderful dogs that we love a lot. This far more represents who I am now than even the skull and crossbones did, which I thought that it was. This has come up because the establishment is trying to throw everything it can at me. It is terrified of what we are trying to build here. Every second we spend talking about a tattoo I got in the Marine Corps is a second we don't talk about Medicare for all. It's a second that we don't talk about raising taxes on the wealthy. It's a second we're not talking about the material struggles of Mainers as they try to scrape through a system that at its core is trying to rob them. And that's why tonight, I'm just going back right out on the road. We're holding a town hall in Ogunquit, where much like I've been doing for the past month, going around the state of Maine, making myself accessible to Mainers in their communities so I can listen to them. I can hear about what it is they need to change in our political system. And that is what I'm going to continue dedicating my time to. Thank you all very much, and I really appreciate your support through all of this. I will say, it is deeply hard for me personally, but all the outpouring of support telling me to stick with it, telling me that this doesn't matter, telling me that this means that the system is scared, it means the world to me. And I want to say thank you to all of you who have done so.
Hello? I'm gonna bring Bam on because it looks like it's working now, but I have trust. Can y'all hear me?
I can hear you.
Thank God. This is your power report for the 23rd of October. You're back. There's some high-speed chase happening behind Bam, I guess. But
Your mic went a little in and out. I don't know if it was just random though, man.
I'll try to speak closer to it as much as I can.
Okay.
But folks, we are here. This is your power report for the 23rd of October 2025. We're back after last week. Took a little bit of a break. We missed you. We're glad to be back. Well, I really I know following not that you don't follow domestic politics, but specific because you definitely do. But like specifically these like sort of like smaller races that are happening right now, especially outside of like the New York City mayoral race, which is an election that's actually happening this year. Folks are talking a lot about the primary race for Senate up in Maine this week, largely because of Graham Platner, who is a sort of like seems a progressive star in that campaign. Polling coming into this week, which isn't too inclusive of many of the scandals, has Platner leading Janet Mills, I want to say, but Platner leading the current governor of Maine, the next the next opponent, in double digits. I think doubling her percentage. I think Platner's somewhere around 48-50%, and she's somewhere around 25%. So a lot of momentum going into it, but I don't think the primaries are for several months from now, and the general is definitely not until 2026. So that's the context. He's been making the rounds on a number of different YouTube shows that are left leaning. Ryan Grimm, I'm not sure if it was Dropside or Breaking Points, but there's that. Similar thing with Crystal Ball, went on the Majority Report with Emma Vigeland for an interview. Graham Platner even said during that interview that he's a Majority Report fan. Remember that. It'll be important later. And what sort of unfolded this week is, the usual thing that happens. If you run and you're some sort of threat to the establishment, the opposition research comes out. And, sometimes the opposition research is a little bit easier for people than others. And in this instance, it was discovered through, I think, a wedding video that Graham Platner sang shirtless to Miley Cyrus's Wrecking Ball. If that weren't offensive enough, one of his tattoos is the Totenkopf, one of the leading symbols of European fascism. And to make matters worse, Graham Platner said, "Oh, I didn't know what tattoo this was or what it represented. Me and my army buddies just got this together while we were docked in Croatia." It's just like, keep digging. Keep digging. Keep digging. It's like, so there that happens. At this point, I kind of want to get your thoughts.
Well, Graham, welcome to politics, buddy. Like, it's a dirty game.
Take the ride.
Yeah, it's a dirty game, and like a lot of your stuff is going to come out. Obviously, a lot of stuff came out. I want to say it was like old Reddit posts and things that he said online that don't look good for him. But I do believe him about the tattoo. Like, I believe him. Like, I don't think he knew what the hell it was. But yeah, I mean, it's like also like, I keep on mixing it up if he's running for senator or governor.
Senator.
Right. Okay. It's hard to know like what he's really gonna be about because he's like saying all the right things right now. But it's like what are his true intentions kind of thing, like if he wins, like what's he gonna be like, You know what I kind of want to see is him debate that old lady Mills. Like I kind of want to see that. Like I want to see like how he does in the moment where I would imagine she's going to be like, you know, you said this, you said that. Like what's the deal? Uh, because right now I'm just kind of like, you know, it's hard to know. It's like, do I trust him at his word that he's like a Bernie progressive, or is he like some fugazi that's going to get in there and just be like, well, you know, or just be like, what's his name from Pennsylvania?
Fetterman.
Right. Like, is he going to turn into that or what? You know, like it's hard to know at this point, but you know, a lot of people like him up there in Maine. It ain't really got nothing to do with us that much. You know, if people in Maine like him, you know, if the Somalis are going to vote for him, then okay. Who are the Somalis voting for in Maine? That's what I want to know.
That's a litmus test if I've ever seen one. Aaron Patton's already hot on the paint on this one because Aaron's saying, I would tip, but I'm black. Everybody knows we don't tip. And if people don't know where that comes from, that's one of Graham Platner's old statements from his Reddit account. And he was, I think it was like under the guise of like, I don't know, in my experience, I don't know why, but it seems like black people don't tip at all or like as much. Like, does anyone know why this is? And like a kind of, you know, I don't think he's like made up his mind about it, but he's just like kind of obtusely asking this question like on a social media account. And, you know, there's, you know, some of the funnier pieces like that. There were, I mean, like there's other things that are just not going to make him look good. I like that. There's things that are not going to make him look good all around. I mean, from their Reddit posts where he's making anti-LGBTQ plus jokes, he's describing military grape. He's describing, you know, he's also kind of ACAB in these same posts.
Kinda,
And
he went hard. And he said he was a
yeah.
communist.
I mean, he said that white rural Americans are stupid. Turn around at the same time.
So that's like, all I need to hear.
Yeah.
No, I'm just joking.
Well, I mean, Bam's not kidding on that one, but it depends on the day. But all of this sort of comes out, and I think, and this is what I'm doing very deliberately, I'm going to take the left media reaction and kind of the left internet reaction here, because the moral of the story is that both are kind of meaningless, like except for this particular space and community, and for, you know, a lot of people who watch these things, that's actually pretty useless. And like, I'll go further, meaningless, politically worthless. It's like all of this media space and all of the banter about this online when it comes to Graham Platner. So I'm going to save that for like 5 minutes from now. But, you know, I look at all the facts and I'll say Graham Platner is a completely new person on the scene. This is not a career politician. So I think you get a couple of things with that. One of those being someone who doesn't have a perfectly polished background, someone who may be a little bit, you know, as far as, you know, political correctness or politeness or being aware of what cultural mores are or how quickly they're being updated at that time, is I read that. I also look at the way he stumbled through this. Like, you know, usually, let's take Pete Hegseth, for example. He has a Nazi tattoo. A lot of people who are in the Trump orbit, whether in the administration or just at the lower levels of BAGA, from courts to state legislatures to Republican group chats. I mean, there's Nazi stuff and imagery and symbolism all everywhere you look. I mean, the Trump administration's like Department of Homeland Security account on social media are posting fash edits every single day, trying to get people to join ICE for $50,000 bonuses. So all that stuff is out there, and you can like do the fash sniff test sort of thing when you put, okay, not only are there the tattoos, not only are there the text messages, Not only are the things they telegraphed before getting elected or getting into power and then tried to lie about back then and are doing now. But yeah, it's kind of that fact that they are doing these things now. So you could put all the pieces together and be like, this is why we call these people Nazis. This is why we call these people fascists. This is why we're able to make this comparison with conviction and a historically and presently rooted analysis. Look, I think personally, if Graham Platner were lying, this is the worst way to do it, because the way I knew like he's either a bad liar or he's probably telling the truth is that he was basically telling the story of him getting drunk with his army buddies and getting this tattoo together in Croatia. And like, there's an army guy from the United States get drunk and end up in Eastern Europe and end up with a right wing or like a Nazi tattoo and like not know about it. Yeah. Yeah.
Dan, there's probably a black guy with him that got the same tattoo.
No. One of his excuses, which is like, I kind of like transcended when he made this excuse, because I was like, that excuse doesn't work, but not for the reason everyone else thinks. Because he said if he had had any idea that the tattoo had any sort of like negative connotation or negative meaning after all the years that he had worn it on shirts or whatever, or like, taking his shirt off and like, other people had seen it or I had made people feel some type of way, he wouldn't have done it. And he apologized. And that apology seemed pretty heartfelt in the video. He also said that he's surprised that the US government didn't tell him anything about the tattoos being problematic, because he had been screened to go back into the military for deployment since getting that tattoo, and the US government didn't say anything about it. Nebam, are you surprised the US government is letting people with Nazi tattoos just go under the radar? Like, yep, that's totally fine.
I mean, probably the person screening his tattoo didn't know either. I mean, honestly, like, especially back then, like, I mean, I think there's a lot more like people might know a little bit more now because the internet, but like 2006 or whatever he's talking about, like, there's a lot of people that are not going to know. And there probably was a Puerto Rican dude in that group that also got the same tattoo.
Like, I like the Occam's razor approach for this entire story seems to be the right one. Like, just like the dumbest, most likely scenario is probably the most likely scenario. Because like, yeah, all of this is like, yeah, checks out. The US military missing signs of like neo-Nazi symbolism. Like, of course, like,
right.
The Freudian slip. The US military looking the other way when they see signs of this in their own ranks. Like, checks out. Even before, I mean, I'm not sure if this is during the Trump first administration, but before the second administration, which I think we can mark as very different moments, and definitely the East Wing of the White House can. You had the situation with Vanessa Guillen, who was like a Latina military member who was like stationed at the force, and was one of many people who are brown or are women or etc. who are in the military who are just disappeared and never seen again. And it tends to be some like white male in the force who's like a little bit lost it. And not only is he getting away with murder and kidnapping and hiding a body and like dicing it, I don't even remember if that's the situation, but these kinds of things do happen so often. And yeah, the US military is like, slap on the wrist or, dishonorable discharge, but it's a thing that continuously happens and there's no systemic sort of fix for it. So all these things sound like fairly plausible. I'll let you go before I start to get into like the media angle of this, because that's where it starts to get kind of I guess where I start to have my most moments here. And I think there's a learning thing to do.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I feel like for me, the way it really just feels like looking into some like very local story, like even like more local than the New York mayor. And at the end of the day, it's like, I don't know how the people in Maine are going to feel. Like, are they going to push for the centrist or this person that seems like he's to the left of her? And I think at this point, what you I just feel like you need to, not that I'm, if they have a debate next year, I'm probably not going to pay attention to it. I don't know, maybe if it's a big deal at the time, but like, any Democrat going into the Senate, you just want to know how they're going to stand up to whatever Trump is doing at any given moment. Like, are they going to capitulate, or are they going to like be fighting? And especially with next year potentially, Democrats having more power in Congress. So,
Big potentially, big if.
right. And so it's just kind of like, all right, like, how do the people in Maine feel about his tattoos and them comments? Like, are they going to look at it like, he was an idiot back then and he's changed? Or is it unforgivable? And I think that goes for like all of us too. It's like, what do we think is unforgivable or not? Like, people make mistakes and people have ideas that they didn't used to have and stuff like that, and people reform. It's hard to know like where to draw the line or like what is acceptable or not. Like, that's a larger conversation.
Yeah, and before I get into the media angle, I think I pretty largely agree with you. Like, I think it's a holistic thing. This is someone who doesn't have a political, background, and so I think you kind of look into that. Like, I'm less likely, especially as time goes on and we're starting to encounter younger and younger candidates with more and more of like an internet usage history. I'm starting to kind of look and go, okay, well, like that was a different time. Let's see who you are now. And like I weigh that a little bit more. And I think that room for growth is totally fine. I also think because it's a person with very little of a, history in their background to confirm their record, I think let's take all these data points and see if we start finding connections. Like if we see, like, if this is the last tattoo thing, he covered it up. It's like a Celtic thing to reference dogs or whatever. Cool. There's some other things about Celtic tattoos that I can, go into. Not necessarily the tattoos, but also some of the people who make them, and like how a hop, skip, and a jump their way from doing a different type of tattoo. But I think there's also a Maine factor into this as well.
Right.
Bam's joke about the Somalis in Maine.
Shout out. They're there. They're out there.
Not like Minnesota out there though. Like,
no, not even like San Diego out there, but they're out there though.
Yeah. Omar Fateh in Maine. That'd be very funny. But we are like, I'll accept the room for growth piece. I'll accept that, we need to kind of take in these data points. And as for how people in Maine are feeling, he mentioned that video going to a town that I think has like 10,000 or so people roughly. And it's mostly like a traveler sort of like, fun sort of like beach town to the extent that Maine has beaches, I guess seasonally. And can you tell the California rubbing off the entire thing? Anyways, he filled hall, whatever, room, auditorium that has about like 3,000 or 4,000 seats. So you're talking about like a third of the city's population coming out to an event. Now, to be fair, it's a small town. It's off season, so it's probably one of the better things going on that night. I need to stop, but like, I think there's something to say what I said in the beginning, which is this discourse that we're having right now means less than nothing to the voters in Maine. This discourse about a political candidate and some posts and some pictures, like 8-9 months before a primary race, like my primary election actually happens, 6-7 months before any sort of debates like you're talking about, Bam, like I've already lost 99.9% of everybody. Like no one's listening to me talk about this on a bus, in a bar, on a goat, on a boat. Like no one's listening to this, right? So let's ground ourselves in how niche this conversation is. That said, like, this is I guess like a particular space where people are keyed into Senate primaries in the state of Maine, like and stuff like that. So I'll get into the media piece of it. And I think this begins with Bam and I, every once in a while, we get this moment where we see left media react in a way that shows like the mask slips off a little bit, where like it's not really about a politics of coalitional inclusivity and a continuing, practice of that. It's more a politics of the kind of politics that the left tends to rail about all the time. Politics of clickiness, a politics of insiders and favoritism, and one of putting those other, politics and supposed morals and values aside for ego, for pundit brain, for a number of these different things. We've done Left So White for like cases of Jimmy Dore and who's the current affairs dweeb? Nathan J. Robinson, and a number of others. But in this case, I'll shine a light towards, I mentioned them earlier in the show, Crystal Ball, Ryan Grimm, who has been in this Left So White crosshairs for a little bit, and Bam didn't like it, and I actually cared for him. So this is like a knockdown, because now we're in strike 2, strike 3 territory, strike 8 territory, if we're being honest. And yeah, Emma, same thing. I think that the rush to say this is no big deal, or the rush to say, that's even something that Graham said, like, oh, this tattoo thing is like no big deal, or the rush for people to defend Graham before he'd even really said anything about this, before he had really made a statement about it, before he had done the things that you should do when, if this sort of thing is happening to you and you're acting in good faith, which I think he looks like he's doing so far, right? But the role of this media space is not supposed to be, and this got bastardized a lot, I think, by Cenk and the Young Turks era of like, okay, we'll report and commentate on the news, but we're also definitely going to pick certain candidates that we like and then highlight them and boost them up more with our platform and kind of decide we like them and give them extra benefit of the doubt. Basically like doing what other media outlets were doing with establishment candidates at the time. And, that's an approach. I don't agree with it, and this is the exact reason why. This is a similar coalition that spent the past year and has spent the past year saying, you can't throw parts of your coalition under the bus because you think you're going to win for certain things, right? You can't throw trans people under the bus because you think that the trans panic is going to win you more votes and it will cost you from LGBTQ plus people who are actually in danger, right? Throwing away immigrants off the side of the bus is going to be bad, because just because it's like this terror migrant panic wave, we're all bringing the immigrants for everything. You're going to enable those in power who are going to, as we were called crazy for about this time last year, using the federal government and using federal agents to round people up in the streets. Right? Like, this is something about, if you're really about a coalition, are you going to look past those things because you're in a moment that you like? Oh, here's the one I remember from last year. Remind me, Bam, if you remember this. I will not vote for a candidate who is not for an end to the genocide in Gaza. Like, that is a non-movable issue for me. And anyone else who sits outside of that, that is not a coalitional move that I am willing to make, right? I think those are fine, reasonable politics, all right? Like, I think, and I also think, as we talked about with the Palestine conversation, you have to weigh a lot of different things when you're looking at a particular candidate, especially one like in Maine, where it's either going to be a strong Democrat who wins, or it's going to be Suzanne Collins, and that's just like a Republican Senate seat, and we really don't need that right now. So, that changes the calculus for maybe how clean, how refined, how, quote unquote, perfect of a politician you have in order to get there. But you allow a politician to get there, you don't make that, you don't, do the work of that politician for them. And that's why I saw too many like Ryan Grimms, too many people, Ryan Grimm, Crystal Ball, Emma Vigland, people who like didn't make the Cenk and Anna TYT mistake last year, but are, I think, in this like sort of king-making thing, they see like the Zoran Mamdani thing, and I don't think left media had a huge role to play with that either. But it's a numbers game. If you can find these sort of like Pied Pipers of progressive politics and constantly boost them up and hype stories about them, then you kind of become economically tied to that person or that candidate. And I think it's simpish, pathetic, and outright fucking embarrassing that this far out of a primary campaign, there's a bunch of media figures who, you know, Ryan Grimm claims to be like a fully like fledged journalist. I know like objective journalism is pretty much dead in this country, and maybe that's a good thing. But how are you this quickly to like simp for a guy when, or you know, like go to bat for a guy who has no political history, who has no political record, you barely even know of, and you're like, oh, this is an obvious smear campaign, this is an obvious smear job. When I think an easy test is, what were these people saying about Katie Porter? Because I was saying the same thing about Katie Porter just a couple of weeks ago before we went on our little break, that, you know, there's a smear campaign coming after her because she is the strongest non-establishment Democrat currently in the race for governor in California. There's a lot of people who've been waiting in the wings of, you know, Gavin Newsom to leave or Kamala Harris to leave, and both of them are out. So it's like an open season. And those Democratic Party fart snippers who believe that they should be rightfully, like it should be their term, they're polling like the woman from Maine, like worse actually, 2%, 4%. Alex Bakari or whatever, or Andrew Bakari, like all these other different Democratic Party figures, they're polling low. Katie Porter is the front runner. You know what they did with her? They released all the videos of her yelling at her staff and saying that she's abusive and she's toxic in her workplace. All these same East Coast like progressives sort of over talking about were largely dismissive, like, you know, oh, Katie Porter's not a strong candidate. You know, this sort of thing happens. And I said a lot just to like kind of set the stage to make my case and make my point about why I'm angry with this, but I'll put it like this. If we are just gonna have the conversation, who are you gonna go to bat first? The person with the Nazi tattoo who worked for Blackwater after his deployment, who was apparently during his deployment a guard at Abu Ghraib, like you know, after the festivities, let's say, you know, and it's a deployment. You don't necessarily choose those things, but I mean, there's that. Or there's the woman who can maybe work on her anger issues with her subordinates and her staff, but other than that is like a leading front runner and so far has no Nazi tattoos. Right? In fact, no, maybe a little bit too close to APAC related interests for, you know, my taste in California, right? But real rush to defend the rural white guy with the Nazi tattoo. Total silence defend the white woman who is the progressive choice in California, and objectively a more fucking important state with more people in it, with a much more economic impact, with, you know, if we're just going to talk about like newsworthiness, right? There's federal agents in California, in they're talking about San Francisco now. Who knows when they're going to go to San Diego? That's like 3 major cities. I can't name a major city in Maine. Portland. There's a different Portland the federal agents are in. It's not the main one though, right? So this is all getting wrapped up in like I hate how West Coast biased the media is and how left media has kind of continued that weird trend. I think it's very weird how the choice was made even before Graham made an apology that we've got to hold our nose and go for this guy versus you know, hold our nose and go for this girl, when I think I have the opinion for both Graham Platner and Katie Porter that both these hit pieces came out in Politico. They are the publishers clearinghouse for hit pieces against the opponents of the establishment. They did the same thing with Trump. That's why Trump's on his media tear right now, and guess how that worked. And they'll do the same thing with AOC or Zora Ramdani or Bernie Sanders and any left of center Democrat who doesn't push that agenda, because they're the ones who have the connections to Politico, who will leak this stuff, who will publish it far and wide. And yeah, I just think it's funny how last point. we are supposed to, as Democrats, weaponize, as we should, text messages and imagery and rhetoric and all these other different things. And the same week, now we're going to go for a guy, like pretty willingly, without an apology, who has many of those same things on his record. Now, I don't think they're the same people. I think the words that come out of their mouths in the present for the people who are on the MAGA side, it matches their past messages, and they're not apologizing for it. Even the vice president is telling them not to apologize for it. Here you have a person with remorse who immediately got the tattoo covered up, and he seems to be moving on. And even in those past messages, you're starting to see the sort of like anti-fascist, like left dem social whatever person that Graham Platner is running as today. I think what I did was a kind of rapid fire, going in a couple different places, a little bit of long-winded analysis, but my approach is way more responsible than just just pay no attention to the Nazi, stuff and all the military stuff. And, we don't know this guy, and we've been Fetterman before. Just trust me. He's a fan of the Majority Report. It's cool. It's cool. Trust me, guys. He's cool. Like, this is a pathetic display from some people that I generally like a lot. And I think I just have to say that for the record. A pathetic display.
Well, I didn't see any of those. I'm glad I didn't. Because honestly, I just feel like there's just something like that's the problem when you become like a fan of a politician. Like, don't be a fan, dude. Just especially if they don't have nothing to do with you, really. Like,
welcome to politics. The strippers don't actually like you,
right? Like you can say like, oh yeah, I like this guy's politics in Maine, and I think he's better than that old lady. Okay, then this stuff comes up like, damn, well, that's messed up, like that's really whack that he said all that stuff. We'll see what the people in Maine do about that. We'll see if they care, but like, you don't have to be like up his ass, like, because at the end of the day, it's a politician, like, and he's running the first time ever. So it's like, I'm gonna save being a fan of a politician until they do a lot, dude. Like, you gotta do so much for me to be like, you know what? I really fuck with that person because they went hard for like FDR amount of time. But a senator in Maine, like I'm sorry, dude. Like, you can be cool or not, but like, I'm not like you said, like these people are already like they hitched their wagon to him already. So when this stuff comes out, most people have too much ego to be like, you know what? Well, I guess I was wrong about that person. Like, fuck him. They're not going to do that, which you could, because either way, it ain't like you're not voting for him. And Majority Report or whoever else, you're not going to swing one vote his way. Like, that's not happening. Like, the Somalis in Maine are not watching the Majority Report. So, like, yeah, but that's also how, like you're saying, like, that's media. Like, media is they're trying to build like a larger than life character out of somebody so they can like, hitch their wagon to them, and it's more exposure. That's just like how media is. But I think it is irresponsible. It doesn't surprise me, but for me, it's just like, I don't, what, actually, I'm going to agree. It is, I think it's actually very irresponsible because you're keeping this culture of being a fan of a politician. And really, like that's how we got Trump, dude. Like, that's how we got Trump twice, because the culture of being a fan of a politician, like they work for you. They're supposed to work for you. They should be your goddamn fan. They should be coming to you and saying, what do you want me to do? You know what I mean? Like, that's how it should be. But because like we have, the world is just like caught up in celebrity worship culture and all this other shit. Like, people treat the politicians like they're like a celebrity, and then, and I'm not really judging Graham Planter.
Platner, but I get it.
Sorry, I gotta take what he's saying at face value that like he's not that person anymore because I think about myself, 20 years ago or whatever the hell. Like, I mean, I'm saying crazy shit on the group chats right now, but like, you know what I mean? So, like, I can take him at face value to say like, he's apologizing and he doesn't believe that stuff anymore and he's a different person. That's cool. That's great. And we will see if you get elected. If the people in Maine elect you, we'll see if you're a lying sack of shit or if you are genuinely about that progressive life.
Yeah, I think it's, I'm not even saying you have to denounce him all of that, right? Like you could just go
Right.
like I think the right response was, hey, look, we're interviewing this guy. He says he's, a fan of the show. That's a nice thing to say. Curtis Lee was on the Breakfast Club the other day, and he was making
What?
fun of.
Are you for real?
Bama's
Oh
pissed
my
we didn't make.
God.
Bama's pissed we didn't make the entire episode about that.
That is insane, dude.
But
There ain't a rapper. There ain't a rapper, dude. Like, goddamn. Can we just get a fucking rapper, man?
I will
my-
say it was very funny. There were two funny moments in that. One was when Curtis Sliwa said that he was offered $10 million to drop out of the race and a no-show job and a bunch of cars and everything. And he was like, are you kidding? I know Eric Adams got more. He was sitting around playing The Price is Right, seeing who was going to pay him the like. He's got
That's
them
funny.
bangers like that sometimes. Secondly, because he was in the middle of that rant, this is kind of the point I was getting to. Curtis Sliwa said, Charlemagne. When he was on your show, he said The Breakfast Club was his favorite show. He listens to it every morning. Then he goes on 6 other morning shows and says the same thing. Oh, it's my favorite morning show. I listen to it every morning. How is he listening to 6 morning shows? How is he listening to one? We know he's busy, nightlife Eric Adams at 4 a.m. He doesn't listen to morning shows. He's too busy sleeping it off. But if you be generally flattered by someone saying, oh, I like your show, I watch your show. But that should not be like the litmus test for the clearinghouse of I'm going to give this person the benefit of the doubt always, right?
Right.
Like I've actually said this before in my personal life. For people that I meet who know me or know of the people I have been around or have interviewed or talked to or know people in this space, right? That's actually a red flag. like that's not a red flag, but it's a yellow flag, right? Like, because I don't know, like, are you just like a lurker, like a normal person who watches these things? Or are you like 95 replies deep into a comment section from a video that came on like a year ago, talking about how like Ethan Klein said something about Hassan Pike? Like, are you an absolute sicko? Or are you like, just into politics and don't like the old media's type stuff we have right there, right? So it's a wide landscape and there's a lot of people like that, but we shouldn't just be given free passes just because they like blow smoke up your ass, like they compliment you, like, oh, I like your show, oh, they do this other different thing. It's access journalism. It's I'm going to give people nicer treatment because I have them on speed dial. They're more perceivable to be my friends, my comrades, my associates, people I agree with, right? And you just can't do that. And it doesn't mean you go like, I'm completely throwing this person under the bus, but I think you start and you just from the jump go, okay, this is a person I generally like their views and their values. This is how you can support them. Let's see if they can win. This story comes out and you're like, damn, that sucks. I think he seems to be running on stuff I agree with. His behavior in his life are things I definitely don't agree with. I think in this environment in 2025, there's a lot of room to show that people are growing from problematic things, but it can't just be, oh, you made some fucked up posts in like 2023 and like now you're saying you're straight. Like there's got to be work done and the context really matters, but by digging yourself into a person, a completely unknown person that quickly, you're just like setting yourself up for anything like that, right? And that just goes back to last sentence. It goes back to the discipline of the lost art and discipline of being in front of a microphone and talking to an audience. It's so easy to do it right now, but there is actually ethics. There is actually responsibility. There are things you don't do. And I think, the Taylor Lorenz article about CrowdStrike and the people getting paid by the Democratic Party to do media stuff like that without disclosing it. A bunch of people were there and they were like, I don't get what the big deal is. And that is representative of how much the lost art of being a objective reporter, an objective consumer of the news, an objective presenter of the news. That's how lost it is.
Well, I think also the thing is, people in the left media criticize, mainstream media for access journalism. And it's like, you're doing the same thing, dude. Like, it's literally the exact same thing. But it's just for like a smaller candidate, so, having integrity is not easy in that space, it's easy to get excited about people, and you don't have a lot of progressive politicians in America, so it's like, oh my God, like he's saying all this stuff, like, you're going to get excited, but can I say this? Should I say this?
Do it. Because I was going to say worse still.
I feel like, now these guys are not going to feel like this, but I feel like for me, like I'm already like, whatever politics you're saying you have, I'm already going to be somewhat like a little bit skeptical because you're a white guy. Like, I'm especially you were in the military and shit. Like, I'm already got like a little bit of like I'm going to ask the person, if I'm interviewing Graham Planter Peanuts, and he's got these, before the stuff comes out, like before all that stuff comes out, I'm going to be talking to him about his past in the military. What were you like back then? Did you have those politics back then? Like, I need to know that stuff. Because I think he could have got ahead of a lot of this stuff. Like, hey, guys, I was in the military. I'm from Maine. I'd never seen a black person until I turned 28. Like, what the hell? Like, so, like, you can get ahead of a lot of that and be like, I was an idiot back in the day. I was on Reddit. I don't know how long that Reddit shit. I don't know how long Reddit's been around, but like the Reddit shit sounded like it was like 2018 or something. But like, he could have got ahead of a lot of that. And I don't know who was interviewing him and stuff. I don't think I've ever seen an interview of his. But for me, I'm like, you're like this age white dude and you were like serving in Iraq. Like, were you dropping sand in bombs or what? Because I can forgive it. If you're like, yeah, we were all saying towel head and shit. Okay, I feel you. But like, let's talk about it.
Yeah, like I hear you, and most of the audience is like white leftist men who, like, part of the reason there's this like issue in the discourse is that it's like when that side of it is called out, there's like a little bit of a discomfort that's there, right? Like, just similarly as like there can be a discomfort as a cis men when there are leftist women or non-binary people who are like going off about how fuck ass like straight men be, right? Or cis men be, right? And like, there's two ways to do that. You can sit with that discomfort and think about like, okay, why am I just like not comfortable? How are these things, like, what can I learn from taking this? And like, how can I actually, use this to work towards being a better person, treating other people with more understanding? And it's just the truth that in a country that favors whiteness and maleness and straightness, if you're a beneficiary of those things, and you end up kind of fighting for those things and very much falling for the propaganda that leads to those things, which is what you did if you are in the US military in the Iraq and Afghanistan war. That's just objectively, it checks all the boxes. Even if you are not white, male, or cis, and you were in the military at that time, the propaganda worked for you because you saw that as a possibility for yourself. You bought in to the myth, right? And so that takes unlearning, right? Just how, that takes unlearning for if Graham Platner were black, it would be a similar type of unlearning too.
For
you
sure.
can say that maybe in older age, like some of the connections of being a Black person, and then some of those connections of being in the military, when you get older, maybe they come together and broaden your analysis and you become a more well-rounded person. That's great. I think that's a story that, to Bam's point, like that is a part of the interview that people should go down, because even if you want to be kind of sneaky and sly and be like, hey, we ideologically agree, let me help you out a little bit, I think that's the best way to help out a campaign. Like, just like, let's lay it all out. Let's hit it off with the past. Let's address it right here. And I think people appreciate growth. I think people appreciate normal stories. I think people like people who are not politicians, who are perfect and cookie cutter, and like Gavin Newsom, who like focus tested his smile and his grin and like which like hair mousse he uses, right? Like in a lab. I think people want that authenticity, but this is a left coalition, and to the extent that the coalition matters, I think like if you're over here saying don't pay no never mind to the Nazi tattoo, and then you're over here saying no, I'm standing up for like progressive rights and like your rights as someone who like may have been affected by the Nazis, is being affected by Nazis right now. Let's just be very real about the historical nature of where we're at right now. Feels bad, man. it feels nearly like, it's not an exact analogy because this isn't a history for most of these people who like fell for the Grand Platner thing, but we're going back to the same story, the same thing we're hitting back again as Jank. Do you think that you're going to win more voters or going to win more support or win more credibility or win more good graces or whatever you value or whatever you should value in the space? Do you think you're going to get that by sounding like a Republican or sounding like a right winger when it comes to issues that left people care about? Like you can't just go, oh yeah, trans and women's sports, that's weird. Like, we should ban that. Or Trendair Wagra is all up in these apartment buildings. Let's send the weekend warriors who can't even run a 14-minute mile. Let's send them in to helicopter into apartment buildings and zip tie naked children at 3 a.m. at night, right? Like that is the direction that TYT went in. That's not how far we're going, but it starts by, hey, you know what? Don't worry about that thing that you're very worried about. And the fact that you are worried about it and scolding me is a you problem, and it's not a me problem. That's the tone I'm getting from a lot of folks this week. It's a very scoldy, how dare you tone. And on the other side, I agree with it. Let's not be so quick to throw people under the bus. Next time I am on camera, and honestly, off camera with all these people, they're not going to hear the last of me. They're not going to hear the end of me talking about Katie Porter. And after that conversation, I better start seeing some public posts about, yeah, let's go for Katie Porter. Yeah, let's call her Stapler Katie Porter. I don't give a shit, all right? Because now we're ranking things. Yelling at your subordinates, we don't approve of it. There's also the guy running for Senate with the Nazi tattoo. We don't approve of it. There's also the fascist in the White House who's tearing down the, White House in the East Wing. We also don't approve of it. We don't approve of that last one very, very much. And so let's actually start to have the conversations. And if you're really about this, let's not fall for these, smear campaigns, then be as quick to defend the smear campaigns that aren't on the East Coast, that aren't these rural white hillbilly elegy examples of what you want the white rural left to be. And maybe throw some attention to the woman who's trying her best to represent 40 million Americans in a state that is, really teetering on the precipice of some serious shit right now. But hey,
what do we know? Narwhal said.
Yeah, go ahead.
Narwhal said if the candidate had been black and had a gang tattoo unknowingly, there would be zero grace. Oh, don't you know it? Boy. Now, granted, if he was a black candidate in Maine, that's already a big red flag. But he's going to get one vote from the Somalis. Won't even vote for him. But if somebody had a GD tattoo or some a freaking Crip tattoo, Oh my God. They're going to lean
Pyrus
into
for Platner. Pyrus for Platner.
if they got that on some black cat, like there's gonna be like Netflix documentaries on the history of the Bloods. Like they're gonna go through every state. Like, what are you like? There would be no grace at all. But at the same time, I'm like I don't know if this is how I'm supposed to feel, but like I feel like it doesn't matter whether I give him grace or not. Like I don't gotta vote for the guy. We'll see what the people in Maine say. And I hope that, like, okay, Dan, here's my question, Dan. Was he having interviews on left media before all this stuff came out?
Yes.
And they
all
weren't
the people I'm talking to, all the people I'm talking to were, yeah, all the people I'm talking about, Emma, Crystal, and Ryan talked to Graham. To my knowledge, definitely Emma and Crystal. I'm pretty sure Ryan talked to him and interviewed him before all of this. And I only watched Emma, and you know, this is awkward because of all these people. This is the person I have the closest friendship with, and it's like a real intersection of my own morals about like my willingness to go full on the gas of criticizing someone. This is also a really dear friend of mine. But you know, this is nothing personal, just business for the next couple seconds. All right. The closest Emma came into her interview was, "Are you John Fetterman?" Which is funny because, you know, like
he's not going to say that.
I'm just going to remove this in general. And I don't mean to look. I'll say like nothing personal, just business. That was a poorly framed question. You need to get very specifically to like what you're talking about to make it harder to lie and get out of that question. Because the way that question was presented, a couple of months ago, Trump was asked, "Hey, you keep showing around these plans for like a ballroom on the White House. Like, are you going to tear things down? Like, what are you going to do?" And Trump's like, No, I love the White House. It's a very beautiful building, and I'm going to leave it as is. This is all going to be funded, you know, out of my own dime and through private donors, and it's going to, you know, keep and maintain the White House and the good look of it. This week, backhoe to that bitch, like straight, like craning it out. And Trump's like, "Yeah, I told you I was going to do it. Yeah, I told you the White House was a dump the whole time. Like, why are you upset? Like, why are you surprised?" Like, you know, like so. And even some people will say, there were signs for Fetterman all along. And if you look back, there were signs. They were just, again, I don't think it was even the same group of people, but it was a similar sort of fervor to be like, hey, we need this seat. This person is approachable. He's not a career politician. He seems to be agreeable on some of our issues. He just has some things in his past that, you know, if he were to make a pivot in the future, you could connect A to B, but you could connect A to C at least. But right now we're at B. And we're at some point in the middle where we have to kind of make a decision if we can take this person at his word. And at that point, if I'm going back to Emma's moment of asking him if he's Fetterman, I don't know if you're going to get the perfect answer from that, but you got to get a data point. And are you going to be Fetterman is like a nice Dan way to end the question, but you got to at least go like Sam Cedar or Dan and like spend the 2 minutes before that asking a question to color it. I'm exaggerating, but at least spend 30 seconds before that to color the question and be like, look, it is very hard we want to be able to trust outsiders, but because you don't have a record, we have to take a lot of things for your word. So, you know, you're pro, you know, like you're pro ending the war and the genocide in Gaza. You're for all these other different progressive things. What happens when Trump deploys troops to Maine? Maine's politics, like, sorry, dude. I keep saying Zoran Mamdani's best days will be this campaign, and then everything else is going to suck for him a little bit. Because you've got to hit the realities of Mamdani managing a relatively blue liberal town and city where a lot of those agenda items can get done, like New York. This is Maine now, all right? So Graham is going to be not a New York, DC, California coastal leftist on a number of things. We got to try to pick at those things that are popular in Maine. Like, what about guns? What are we going to do about that? Let's talk about this situation. What about
lobsters?
Reproductive rights. What about Jordan Peterson, the Lobster Army? Like, that's a big constituency in Maine. Like, you know, but like, you know, we need to, even if you don't know all these different things, we need to get him on record, because if he trips up in a future interview and contradicts himself in these Majority Report interviews or these Breaking Points interviews or these whatever interviews, then we can go back and we have a paper trail to be like, okay, you said A here and X there. So what do you mean? And maybe he goes through that, and maybe that's a mistake. But if we have 10 of those cases, then we get to look at the Reddit posts and the tattoos, and we can start to build a context and a profile of how serious this person is. Is this person willing to, be truthful and forthright about themselves, or are they hiding a little switcheroo, like in their back pocket? And I think the support and endorsement, and I cannot stress this enough, is profoundly meaningless from left media, from whoever's streaming with one view all the way up to Hassan Piker. Profoundly meaningless when it comes to changing the minds of regular voters. All right, let's be real. But it is powerful in the sense that someone might be motivated to, maybe not to vote because they saw something on a left YouTube show, but if they do make the right decision to stop watching YouTube shows and start to get out in politics, they may go, I'm going to volunteer for this campaign because I've seen him on the Majority Report, or I've seen him interviewed with these people that I generally trust and like, and I'm willing to put that work in for you. So I think that is a really strong responsibility there. And so to close out, don't put out on the first date.
Basically.
With politicians especially, make them work for it, honey. Please.
I don't know. I can't remember if it's in the rundown or not, but everybody in the chat is talking about some racist AI ad that Cuomo did.
Oh yeah.
And since you're a New Yorker, I would imagine you saw it.
So here's the thing. It was an online post and delete.
Okay.
It wasn't.
I want to see how racist it is.
Can you read some more comments, because it's not in the rundown, but I know where to find it, so I just need some time. But I just want to tell you, Bam, you're not quite ready for how racist it is.
Okay, we'll see. All right, we'll see.
It's funny and insulting in its own ways, and then you can look at it for the historical thing that it is, and it's like, oh, this is like digital blackface meets the Central Park 5. Like this is actually some pretty dark shit that's happening here, but just done in a cartoonish way. Anyways, Bam is
okay. Narwhal said, I don't think Platner is clever enough to plan the switcheroo, but he may do it from a principle. He could. And I don't really expect him to do that necessarily. But I do feel like, my biggest thing is it's up to Maine to vote for the guy. But if he's going to be on left media, I would like for them to have more integrity than Trump going on Fox News. But yeah, here's Sachi with the hyperbole. More outrage about the East Wing being remodeled than Gaza being destroyed. I haven't seen any encampments about the East Wing of the White House. I haven't seen any protests about it just yet.
Well, I'll say this, right? The people who are doing the protests for the Gaza are not necessarily the same people who are going to get all up in arms about historical buffs and things like that. Really fast. Emma's my friend. There's nothing really personal about this. It's kind of just this is a purely political disagreement, and I think your best friends are friends who want you to be better in certain moments. This is one of those things. It's not a takedown. This is not a Dan destroys. This is not this is not a don't trust Majority Report anymore. These things happen. I forgot what we were saying earlier. But there's something we were talking about before this. But I have the video almost ready.
Let's watch this video because I'm ready. For
almost ready. Almost ready.
what does it say? After watching that Frontline documentary on RFK Jr., I now know that anything is possible. You know what? Anything is possible, but white privilege is a fool.
Anything is possible. Okay.
But yeah, I don't think that. I'm gonna agree. I'm gonna agree with that comment. Like you didn't say anything crazy about Emma or anything. I mean, I'll be honest. I don't watch Majority Report anymore. Like I do, like every once in a while, like maybe like once a month. But really, it's out of solidarity with Emma because it's just Sam bothers me, and I'm like this. I cannot listen to him interrupt her and just when she like. This was my issue. She'll like talk and have a great point, and then he will not acknowledge it and just talk. And I'm like, I can't do this. I don't like it. I want Emma to have her own show. Then I'll get back on
there. This is exactly a conversation I had with Anna a long time ago, where I was like, the main show is unwatchable because Jenk always interrupts you. It'll be great when you have your own show. And I regret the error.
Then she converted.
And I regret the error. Okay. So if you were gonna care about, I mean, I'm speaking to the wrong audience, but the New York City mayoral race, we've been talking about since it's been a primary. If you're gonna care about it, at least maybe now, because the last debate has happened. The voting, like early voting is, I don't know how New York works. Honestly, don't listen to me. But the final election day is coming up in just a couple of weeks now. And I think early voting is either starting this weekend or about to commence.
I would imagine, yeah.
Listen, California, I don't mean to sound like a Republican, but California truly does have lackadaisical voting rules. Like you can vote kind of whenever, and the ballot gets in and it gets counted, for better or worse. But so I don't know the New York rules, honestly. I don't know if they're more strict than that, but I could literally mail my California ballot from New York and it'll still get counted.
As it should.
As it should. And to be clear, I'm not re-registering in New York. My registration is still in California. One place, one vote. I just feel some type of way about Prop 50, and so I think you can figure out what type of way. Against. No.
No.
Gavin Newscomb. No. Anyways. So now's a decent enough time to be paying attention to it. Andrew Cuomo, Curtis Sliwa, Zohran Mamdani are in the race. Nothing but haymakers in the last debate. I'm not watching it because I don't care about New York City politics like that, and you shouldn't either. I'll be real. And there's some really good moments in that. I'm not gonna do debate highlights because again, I'm a little bit sick of the Zoran fandom too. I think the left needs to just I'm not commenting. I'm not. Finally, Bad Lefty, we found the comment that I'm not touching. I was just at Emma's wedding, yo. I'm not touching that comment. And I'm not saying that there was anything like that. I'm just saying I don't want to imagine that.
Somebody make it.
Yeah. I'm not saying 3 drinks and Emma's dad was letting it fly. No, that's not what happened. No. But okay, yeah, let me
her dad's like, oh, there's one.
I was the one at the wedding. Yes, you're right.
Oh, I know you were.
No, there were 3 of us. It's all good. Wait, no.
Okay.
If I'm not counting the band, 3 of us. If I'm counting the band, 6 of us.
Damn. On the bass, I know it.
Bass and a male singer and a female singer.
Okay. What were they singing?
White wedding hits.
Really?
Pretty much, yeah. It's.
Did they sing September at least? Do you remember? Did they do that?
It'd be fair. This wasn't June, but we did get a couple or 2. They did play 1 or 2 funk lines there.
Okay.
There were some things to clap on beat to.
Did they do the cha-cha slide?
No.
Cupid shuffle?
No.
Damn.
None of the call and response ones, but definitely something, funk a la like Earth, Wind, and Fire, definitely.
Gotcha. Okay. Damn,
I was also the only one who was singing along and knew all the words to whatever song that was with them, and gotcha.
Oh, no diggity. Yeah, Aaron knows what the white people like.
Okay, this is not meant to. Again,
first of all, we love Emma. I'm literally unsubscribed from Majority Report because I love Emma, literally.
Okay, let's move on before I start sweating too much. So this is. I need to make sure the camera's set up because I need Bam's reactions for this the entire time. Getting this, no. I'm gonna have to do it like this. I need you the entire time.
I'm full screening this shit right now. You know, I'm ready for
full mast. Full mast. Bam, we're gonna be talking about this clip for at least the weekend. So get ready.
Oh God, it starts with a cab. It's already racist.
So this is an AI ad created with AI that Andrew Cuomo's team posted and deleted the day after the final debate with Zoran. So this is meant to be their closing message, their closing attack. Zoran, like, if you combined Andrew Cuomo and Curtis Sliwa's percentage in the polls, two fundamentally oil and water factions that will not mix. But if somehow you got them to mix together in a kitchen where you don't care about the fire insurance, right? Like, if you somehow got them to mix together, that candidate is still losing to Zoran Mamdani by 8 points. So, like, we're cookies. Like, it's a wrap. They're just this desperate. And so now they're like, the old drill tweet, dialing up a dial that says more racism and looking back at the crowd's reaction like it's The Price is Right. Like, that's just the last thing they've got. Good old-fashioned New York racism. I just didn't think either Andrew Cuomo or AI itself was this racist. I'm burying the lead. I'm burying the lead. Here we go.
Zoran Mamdani's opponents want you to believe he's an inexperienced radical whose policies will make New York City more dangerous. But what do his actual supporters think?
Mamdani isn't crazy.
He's just trying to even the playing field.
You know, give everyone a fair shot. Sure, he said multiple times we need to defund the police, but that was just a metaphor.
And yes, he did say crime is a social construct. But that was also a metaphor.
His main backer, the Democratic Socialists' ideas are common sense, such as
Decriminalizing misdemeanors, like shoplifting.
third-degree assault,
Trespassing, prostitution,
Oh my God.
And drunk driving.
with plans to decriminalize all drugs. Mamdani will be a job creator for drug dealers.
Instead of helping us homeless get off the streets and into the mental health facilities we need, he wants to give us safe injection sites to do crack and let us sleep in subway carts.
These are actual policies Mamdani and the DSA want to implement on day one.
When a woman's being domestically abused, she finally won't have to deal with some pesky cop to arrest the abuser, but now a social worker to help, kumbaya the situation.
Breathe in, breathe out.
Mamdani is finally lowering jail sentences.
guilty!
But Mamdani says you're free to go.
Who cares if legalizing prostitution statistically leads to an increase for sex trafficking of women and young girls by 70%?
You can't have safety without equality.
For unlawful abiding citizens like us, globalize the intifada.
I'm a criminal. I'm a criminal. I'm a criminal.
I'm a criminal.
Yep. I'm a criminal.
For Zoran.
For Zoran Mamdani.
I didn't have a real job until I was 30, but sure, give me the keys to the city. What's the worst that can happen?
Paid for by Cuomo for NYC.
No, that's what Giuliani did, actually. He was there for that.
True story. True story.
That's what happened when Giuliani was mayor. Okay, I'm going to be real. It wasn't as racist as I thought it would be, but it was racist.
Dude, I was hyping it up a little bit. Also, it needs a little bit of marination because why they got the black pimp, why they got the black shoplifter with the mask on. Secondly, why they got the black pimp opening up a van full of coked out white girls.
Okay, I'm gonna tell you how they could have made it more racist, actually, because when they showed him eating the rice, like that's like Asian, like white rice. Like you need to have biryani in there. Like you're like he's Daisy. Like he's not gonna be having the white rice. There's got to be like some seasoning in that rice, at least some saffron or something.
But he's Ugandan, so they got him eating with his hands.
Which is I mean, but like you got to put some, you need some seasoning in that rice. But that was insane.
I did love your reaction to like 4 seconds off the rip, and they already got him like hand eating the rice.
Like they're doing
Grand Platner gonna jump out and yell towel head in the middle.
You're right, and that's not AI.
It's like Grand Platner, your line was hello.
Right. like that was just, first of all, it's just like too long and ridiculous, and it's like, dog. First of all, pimps nowadays, they're not wearing freaking 1970 pimp outfits, dude. Like the pimps is wearing like Amiri shirts and you know what I mean? Like
check Eric Adams' closet.
You're right. Like, yeah, that's what that like Jeffrey Epstein was a pimp. You know what I mean? Like that is what's going on here. So that's just silly as hell.
I mean, there's some arguments that Benjamin Netanyahu could be a pimp, and just based on his sort of like history with cheating on his spouse, let's say. Just bamming him with that. I only mentioned it because Andrew Cuomo worked legal defense for Benjamin Netanyahu in the, it's been a couple years back, but 2024.
That's a good gig. Like, go back and do that, dude. What the hell?
I mean, listen, it's easy money. I don't know what you mean by a good gig, but it's stable money.
For sure. But no, that was insane. It's just like y'all are doing way too. It just shows how scared they are, and it's just like, yeah, that's like y'all just threw in the towel with that ad. Like that is just a lot right there. And not only was the black guy stealing, but he's also wearing kafaya too, to add that to it as well.
Globalize the intifada.
Literally,
like the AI ain't even got it right. Like it's just
like,
and by the way,
this is so bad.
So Cuomo actually did release an AI ad, and it was like Andrew Cuomo AIing himself into jobs he couldn't do, which is like he couldn't drive the subway, he couldn't do delivery or whatever, different New York NPC jobs. But then he's like, but I can be mayor, and that's the job I know how to do. And this is kind of very funny because after he got bent over the knee and spanked like an 8-year-old boy, the immediate thing after losing the race that was his to Zohran Mamdani in the primary, he releases a video of him helping to jumpstart someone's car, being like, hey, look at me, I'm Andrew Cuomo, I'm a helpful guy, I know how to do things. It's like, I'm not asking you to jump my car if you're the mayor, right? And now he's saying, listen, I'd be bad at jumping cars if I was mayor, but I'm going to be a good mayor, so it's fine. Like, it is the most, talk about phoning it in.
Dog, you're a serial assaulter, dude. Like, we want to know if you can keep your hands off of stuff. Like, that, your shit is over with, buddy. Like, yeah, granted, Trump got elected, but it's like, you're not Trump, dude. Like, you're not that guy. Like, you are, you're a serial assaulter. This person can, and here's the thing too, it's politics. I don't know how old Cuomo is. Maybe he's like late 60s, early 70s. I don't know. Maybe Mamdani is the mayor. Maybe the stuff he wants to do doesn't work, and people are pissed off at him at the end. Then you can come on back, but you're now granted, people do be forgetting stuff, but an ad like this is just that makes you look stupid at the end of the day. That's just not that I'm trying to tell them what to do, but it's that's bad politics. he's only going to be mayor for 4 or 5 years or whatever, like, or 6. I don't know what their term is, but just wait till after. People might be clamoring for you.
It reminds me of during the 2008 primary when it was clear that Hillary was going to lose, and she was like, "Fuck it, do the racist stuff. I don't care anymore."
Right.
And Black people still remember that shit. Like they still remember that shit about the Clintons. And the Clintons had like pretty good graces among the Black community until about 2006.
Bill did. But like, I think that tactic is like, it's just not like you're playing to something that, granted, it's America, hella people are racist, but like they already are. You're not going to make a new racist, dude. Like, you're not going to put this stuff like, oh, wait, yeah, what the hell? He is from Uganda. Like, they're not going to do that. Like, just keep it clean and hope for the worst for him, and maybe they'll be clamoring for you, Mr. Cuomo. The same thing happened with Trump. They created a culture of hate around Joe Biden to the point where people were like, oh no, we want the rapist with 34 felonies. Like,
because it's the winning playbook, except Trump was riding off of the wave of hate against Hillary Clinton that had been festered by the Republican Party for 20 years at that point. Yeah, for more than 20 years at that point. 30 years, basically. From the late 80s, early 90s, all the way to 2016. Like, that was, again, like, Black people liked Bill Clinton, would be calling Bill Clinton the first Black president up until 2006, but paid Hillary no never mind the entire time. Like, that's some of that stuff justified, but a lot of that stuff was just like, there's a cultural hatred and distrust of Hillary Clinton that was built into American culture, which is funny because she's the one that got cheated on.
Well, she's also a woman, so they're just not going to like her.
Yeah, well, yeah, and it's also like she was, dare I be on defense on Hillary Clinton, right? But like, she was kind of the clearest sort of like most ambitious, most likely to be the first female vice president, and she knew it, right? Like that she sort of like flaunted it and kind of like worked it. And I don't mean to be like, oh, you should be humble, young lady, or whatever. And definitely not young lady, but like I like Obama was not the most like humble or like not smug person either, that's for sure. But that was definitely what you got from Hillary Clinton, both during the 2008 primary and the 2016 primary. The idea that it was her turn, that like everyone wanted this, everyone wanted Hillary. She had gotten all the positions and the titles, and she had worked hardest in the party, so therefore it's her turn. It's the Kamala Harris effect, it's the Gavin Newsom effect. It's where you get all these other shitty Democrats, Hakeem Jeffries, Chuck Schumer. It's the it's my turnism, the wait your turn in lineism of the Democratic Party that is the fundamental rot of it.
Shout out Hillary. It's her birthday in a few days. Fellow Scorp. Shout out Hillary.
Once again, we spent way too much time talking about niche East Coast politics on the left. So let me round out the last few minutes of doing so with, listen, if there's nothing else I like or trust about Zoran Mamdani, it's his desire to wrap a baseball bat in barbed wire and beat Andrew Cuomo with it every chance he gets. Like, I'll admire Zoran Mamdani as an admirer of like, he knows ball, because this is ball right here. I've always said that at this point you need a leftist who is willing to go as hard in the paint as Republicans are in these media wars and these TV moments. And I think this is a clinic in that. I know a lot of folks have seen this clip, but I want to make sure Bam sees it too. One moment.
In 2021, 13 different women who worked in your administration credibly accused you of sexual harassment. Since then, you have spent more than $20 million in taxpayer funds to defend yourself, all while describing these allegations as entirely political. You have even gone so far as to legally go after these women. One of those women, Charlotte Bennett, is here in the audience this evening. You sought to access her private gynecological records. She cannot speak up for herself because you lodged a defamation case against her. I, however, can speak. What do you say to the 13 women that you sexually harassed?
Unfortunately, we can't have no jokes there.
First of all, they were my gumas. It's part of my heritage. That was basically Andrew Cuomo's answer. But I almost want to. I'm not going to play it again. But is that not how it's done?
That's how you do it, yo. You get a crack at just like that.
It.
It's politics. Politics is dirty. Politics is dirty game. I mean, not to rehash the Graham Platner stuff, but like you gonna run, you gotta expect they're gonna hack your shit. They're gonna find everything you said. You gotta expect that, and you better figure it out. Get ahead of it. Cuomo is crazy because, like, it's like, dog, like you are in a really rough situation, and I know that, like, he had to know at some point, like, Zoran's gonna go there, but yeah, that was good. I'll give him credit for that. But at the same time, it's like, I'll say this too. Like, that's fun and that's like great for freaking media. Like, I love it. I just hope that when he's elected, like the stuff that you're saying, dude, like I really, really hope that the people of New York see a material difference with you as mayor, because it's gonna have to be a lot, dude. Because he's really going that like economy affordability route, and if it's not so material, the Cuomos and the Eric Adams who want back in that seat, they're gonna be pushing a campaign against you so hard. So you got to do it, homie.
Agreed. And I'm going to be as fast as possible with this. Most of those material benefits that Zoran has promised in his campaign are going to have to come with collaboration with city council, different borough legislatures. That's a special thing with New York. You may have heard of it. We don't talk about it enough. You have to deal with the state legislature because the New York City Metropolitan Transportation Authority is an agency that is run in Albany, New York, ultimately. Notably, not one of the 5 boroughs, in fact, very far away from the 5 boroughs. Although, shout out Metro North for launching their first once-a-day round-trip service from Albany to Times Square. I think that's a win for public transportation in general.
That's really cool.
Yeah. Balls in your court, fucking Metrolink. Anyway, you know the struggle. Someone has to know the struggle, please. LA Metrolink, shout it out. Most places have a name Metrolink, Manchester too. But anyways, these things that he wants to do, fast and free buses. I keep telling people, you can make the buses free, you're not going to make them fast. Like, it's going to take a lot more work than what he's talking about, because the thing that makes the buses slow is not necessarily people paying, like, at the stops. Because first of all, people don't pay. Like, that's the whole thing. That's why when it's like, oh, how can we afford to like make the buses free? It's like, nigga, the bus is already free. Like, people just don't pay, man, right? What it's going to do, which is a really good thing, is going to cut down on bus driver assaults. I think the stats like 40%, because that's a friction point if a bus driver is trying to enforce fare behind that little like plexiglass window they installed during COVID, and you got a fucking slasher or a guy with a gun who's on there, which fucking happens, unfortunately. I don't mean to like, scaremonger. It doesn't happen, every single day, but it, bus operators talk about it, and it's a problem across the country. That delays buses. But the main thing that delays buses in New York City is traffic. And I think the congestion pricing thing that has been done for Manhattan is a good model and has worked very well to reduce traffic. And there's a lot more things you need to do to help with buses, and the buses in that Midtown Manhattan area are moving faster already, even with, I'm sure the tourists pay the fare because they're morons, but like basically, to echo your point, I agree with you. Zoran is going to have to show his ability in action to not just build coalitions, but to work with people in legislatures and convince them to get on his side. And I think one way you do that is building coalitions and by saying, look at this large group of people behind me who support me. Another way you do that and even affirm the first part is by developing a mandate and winning by a very, very, very large margin. I think that's what he's going for here. And my main point to land on is that he would do it a lot better if he were listening to some of the, Black left content creators who live in New York, who have been trying to get in contact with his campaign. I'm not even talking about me. I'm talking about like Ole and a couple of other people that she's talked about and had on her shows who have like larger platforms and are not New York carpetbaggers such as myself, right? But they've all gotten the cold shoulder, and I have my ear to the ground when it comes to some of the blackest parts of Brooklyn where Andrew Cuomo still won in the primary, and I see a lot of Zoran Mamdani materials and literature and things like that in the trash. I'm just saying that there's still some coalition work that I think Zoran needs to do better with. Just from that little of what I've seen and what very little what I've seen. I think he's done a lot of good work right now, but now, we have to see how that actually plays out and how crises happen. He's saving, Trump is saving federal deployment to New York for Zoran being in charge or Zoran being elected, right? Like just to continue to poke at him and like try to provoke different people in New York for all these other different things. He is going to have a very tough time as mayor. It's going to be very interesting to see. And I don't doubt he can do it, but I reserve judgment because I think that's responsible.
Exactly. See? Because you're not being a fan.
Also, because he never called me, so it's like one of those Riyadh, Saudi Arabia things. Like, I don't know, I can criticize all I want. Aaron says, the other day, my cousin said I should run for office. I said I'm too mean. He said we need mean. Thank you for repeating the conversation Bam and I have had on and off air for probably a decade at this point. Narwhal by nature. Italians don't know what consent is. Hey. Bam, you know what that's in reference to, right?
No.
So there's this one episode of The Sopranos where Andrew Cuomo, when these allegations first came up, so like I didn't play the part in the debate where he responds by saying campaign slogan for you and Katie Porter, we need mean. I don't know if you is Aaron or you is me.
It's for Aaron. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Because I don't want to do that anymore. But no, the thing that Nara was mentioning, eventually when Andrew Cuomo responds, he says that the charges were dropped and all these other different things, which charges were dropped does not mean instance did not happen.
Right.
That's just some legal speak right there. But
Donald.
that back when people were just finding out about this and like the reports were just coming out, this may have been like 2017, 2018. I don't exactly remember. Andrew Cuomo tried to write it off as like, look, I come from an Italian family. We're very, affectionate. Sometimes I give people a little smooch on the cheek, it's just a family thing, It's so like that comment actually wasn't that far off, honestly.
Well, Andrew, Netanyahu sooner than later is going to need some legal support, possibly at the Hague or something like that. Who knows? So go hang out with your buddy up there.
Well, Bam, as always, thank you for indulging me talking for 80% of the first hour and a half, as is per custom. I also,
it was about 65-35.
The Hillary numbers, great, cool. I'll take those odds. I'm trying. Progress isn't linear. But dealer's choice. I know you want to get to some stuff going on in the world. We haven't been on air for the past weeks. There's been a lot going on in the world of entertainment. I don't know if anyone gets that reference anymore. What's on your mind? And we'll start from there.
Well, I guess we could talk about Gaza for a little bit.
I guess.
This alleged ceasefire is not holding.
Oh my God. Oh Meg. Okay. Really fast. I swear. One sentence. I'll give you $1 if it's more than one sentence. Didn't we tell people not to assume that the ceasefire would hold?
You know what? Yes, and also I saw some freaking Palestinian pundit media guy. Oh, it was disgusting. He was so excited about the ceasefire, and the reporter woman asked him. She's like, we saw that there was a ceasefire in January, and it didn't last because of this and that. She's like, so what do you think is going to make it last this time? And he put a smile on his face and said, Donald Trump. I was like, oh my God, like, this is the reality right here. Like, y'all love this dude. Like, y'all really love an authoritarian so much. They really love him. And I'm like, you guys are so dumb. Like, you're so dumb because the ceasefire was, Trump got inaugurated, January 20th to 21st? I don't know. The ceasefire was signed like 10 days before that or something like that. He was the president for the ceasefire, and it got broken, and they were shooting people getting aid. They cut off the aid for 2 months or 3 months. Israel already is cutting off aid now. They already started doing that. Like, I want to say a week into the ceasefire, they started cutting off aid. They're already bombing people again. They're talking about annexing the West Bank. I guess Trump said that's never going to happen. Okay, sure. Or annexing like certain parts of the West Bank. But effectively, the ceasefire is over. Even from, like, I'll say this. It's really funny. Not funny. It's really obvious what Israel's tactics are when it comes to waging this war / genocide. Because as soon as the ceasefire was like put into place, Hamas is back on the streets. They're back out, like open, back out. Did a open public execution. Like, I'm like, so y'all really are not even like trying to find Hamas at all. Y'all are just really just like, oh, there's like women and children. Like, let's get these numbers up.
They can use a drone to like headshot a doctor in the middle of like a surgical hall and like
Yes.
because of some like social media posts.
No, because he's a doctor. They're literally doing. Oh, that's a doctor. That's too good for them. Kill it.
Yeah, but yeah, like they'll get I don't know if it was Yahya Sinwar. I honestly forget, but they got one of the like heads of Hamas.
It was him.
Similar like drone thing, and like he was like trying to throw shit at it when it was going on. Like they'll get all that camera footage and release it all WikiLeaks style shit, right? Like 2010s Vice style, right? But Hamas is running out like them goddamn Haitian gangs.
No, literally barbecue and shit. Literally literally like rounded up some people and shot them in the head on the street.
To be fair, there were these other like sectarian like sort of gangs that are kind of like popping up. I'm not sure exactly what their relationship was. You know what? At this point, I'm assuming they're all paid by Israel. Or at least
one of them
in some way.
One of them is.
Yeah, right. And so Hamas was like, no, absolutely not. And this is great for Israel because they can say that, and they have said that their job is, and they're gonna do it because it's not just Bibi Netanyahu speaking to Haaretz in I-24 News, like in like Yiddish, like all like going in like that. Like, no, he's actually speaking in English to PBS, going, "Oh yeah, we're gonna finish the job. We're gonna destroy Hamas." So it's like, I knew we were cooked when Trump was like, "It's a 20-point plan." I'm like, you don't have the attention span for 20. Netanyahu doesn't have the desire for anything that isn't that AI Trump Gaza video that we played earlier this year. So yeah, it's no surprise that there's still been attacks by Israel and strikes by Israel through this entire ceasefire.
3 days later, I want to say like 3 days later, there was like airstrikes.
Oh, 36 hours later, there were
maybe even before that. Mm-hmm.
More aid is getting in. Finally, that is
after they cut it because they didn't cut aid completely, but like in the first like day or 2 or 3, the aid was like coming in. Then they said no, we're letting in like half of that aid now. Like, so I mean, honestly, it's the exact same thing that happened before. I think people kind of forget that there was a ceasefire under Biden. Like, people forget about that, but there was a ceasefire. It happened for some days. Then Israel said, we're tired of Hamas parading the hostages. So we're going to start killing people again. This time Hamas let out a bunch of hostages. I don't think they let them all out yet. Or at least there's still like some bodies. I'm not 100% sure about that.
I think they've returned most of the bodies and most of the hostages. Yeah, I don't think it's all of them, but I think it's most.
Yeah, and there was only like 20 left or something.
And I think it's less than that even. But I think there's some arguments that like, oh, these it's like, oh, the bodies of these hostages are hard to recognize, or we're not sure if it's really them. And it's like,
right.
I hate to be crass about this, but the only way I can really succinctly describe this is check the scoreboard.
It's freaking Jimmy Hoffa.
Sorry, one last thing, because exactly just to mention, like you mentioned the point about Hamas is parading people through the streets. The IDF went back to something that I hadn't heard honestly since way before October 7th, which is the IDF threatening to shoot Palestinians who celebrate certain things. It's like if they celebrate, hostages coming home or prisoners returning or, certain holidays, like we've seen them shoot kids for anything from throwing rocks to dancing too close to these border zones.
Playing soccer on the beach.
Zones. Yeah. And to that point, the IDF has already moved in and kind of continue to codify their sort of like yellow zones where they're continuing to push Gazans like further inward and further inward. Yeah, it's just continue.
I want to encourage everybody. Although this doesn't really have it doesn't have as much to do with this Gaza war itself, but I want to encourage everybody to watch the BBC documentary by Louis Theroux called "The Settlers." I only know about it being on Canopy, but I don't know if it's on anything else. Canopy with a K, but it was really good, and it shows the mindset of the most extreme, Zionists and the settler culture in the West Bank, and also it deals with the IDF and like their like what they like how they treat people on a regular basis, who are just like existing on their own land. Obviously, it's not the same with Gaza. It's not a war. Oh, it's on YouTube too. Okay, I didn't know that. It's not the same of obviously as what's going on in Gaza, but you can just multiply it times a million to see like what is happening in Gaza. Also worse because like, yeah, they're just like bombing and shooting artillery or whatever. They're not like occupying it in the same way. But, this situation is far from over. Like, I think like I did see a lot of different people in media, really, I felt like they were excited to say like, oh, you got to give Trump credit, you got to give him credit, and I'm just like credit for what, dude? Like prisoner exchanges happen all the time in Israel. Like between Israel and Palestinians, like that's not something new. Like Hezbollah will have a prisoner exchange, or used to have a prisoner exchange with Israel when there's not a war. Like there's no fire going back and forth, and they'll negotiate a prisoner exchange. So that's basically what this is, what this was. Let's do a ceasefire for a hostage and prisoner exchange. And then it's probably going to go back to what it was because Netanyahu said he's not done. And for every, little clip of Trump saying like, that says like Trump's putting pressure on Israel, whatever. It's like, dude, that's essentially they're saying months ago. Like he's not putting any real pressure. He just wants to like look like he did something. But yeah, sorry, Rose, we did cover Platner already. But you can go to the beginning. That's where we covered it.
Yeah, feel free. We didn't get to Censorious. Of all of my, of all my warpaths in the past 365 days, that was pretty tame, I'd say. But I think it was well needed and as characteristic for Power Report, long-winded, or at least for me. I want to say something really fast because you brought it up, because like there was this you've got to hand it to him politics. I recommend folks listen to this episode of the October 1st episode, 2025, episode 229. Of Citations Needed. Sociopathic, you've got to hand it to him punditry and the rise of politics as sport. I mean, ever since my 2020 video, Bad News, I've been talking about this like political hobbyism and politics as sport sort of like concept. And I think it's only gotten worse. Like Politico turned into more of like a TMZ for Washington, D.C. than it even was before the second Trump administration, but it's downright like desensitizing and dehumanizing to what's going on in the world right now. Like it's always like, is the fact that Democrats can't do anything about all of these Supreme Court cases that are making it so they lose all of these seats in the House and basically guarantee Republican control forever and breaking the democratic process. Is that a win for Donald Trump? You gotta hand it to him. Like, I don't know, that's pretty good. Like, one of the hosts said today, like one of the co-authors of Politico Playbook, in response to the East Wing getting destroyed, like there's history to that. Like it is I don't get too sentimental about it, honestly, but like, like it's a museum to some extent. Like there's like, history, there's like architecture to it. Like I'd rather it be historically preserved by the people who do care about that stuff than just like torn down and turned into whatever Trump wants to make it into, if not for whatever taxpayer monies inevitably go into it, if not for just how like awful it is, but because everything Trump builds is just like ugly and disgusting looking because he has no taste, and it just turns into like a gold like square. But the response was, well, some parts of the White House are getting kind of old, so it could be time for a tune-up. Like the changes that Trump is proposing are bigger than the White House itself. I don't have like the bandwidth on my computers to do it right now, but if I did, I would pull up Google Earth and show you what the actually I can at least do like the images, but like the Trump casino in Las Vegas. I wish I could show you some other examples of the ugly, gaudy Trump casinos, but they've all gone bankrupt because that was the thing he was famous for before being president. But all of these things are, oh God. Hold on. Okay, I'll show it here. Okay, like, see, look at all of these. These are just vantage points of a tall gold building. So when the sun hits this building, it just like blinds everything in its sight. Mind you, this is by an airport named after Harry Reid, which is kind of funny. But like, I imagine it's not helpful for anyone who's flying around there. But also, like, what kind of taste is this? It's just like a gold bar. And I think this does it best. Like, there's a lot of different, like, unique sort of buildings. And Las Vegas can be a beautiful, like, desert scenery or whatever. But this is make it gold. No taste. No taste. It's a really petty thing, but I just have to mention that there. Anyway, fam.
Okay, I want to go back to the Middle East. Dan's all over the place. This is just really quick aside. I know nobody gives a damn, but I did find it very interesting. Maybe like a week or two ago, I can't remember the last time we did this, but maybe 10 days ago, something like that. The current president of Syria, he made a trip to Russia, and I thought that was really interesting. He went to Russia, met with Putin, and I was just like, wow, like, it's just crazy. It's like that was like you were fighting against like Russia, your whole like war against the Syrian government. It was like the Syrian government. It was like Bashar and Putin were your like major enemies. So from what I remember,
Russia take Assad as like
Bashar's there right now.
Yeah. What do we call that? Because it's not it's like
asylum.
Not a refugee. Asylum, yes.
Yeah. I think from what I saw, I guess Shara asked Putin to release Bashar to Syria so he can stand trial or whatever. But I think that for me, what I took from that is that Ahmed Shara has no plans of giving up power in Syria ever. It's just really weird. Like the main enemy of his forces was the Syrian government and the Russian the Russian army that was helping the Syrian government. Like basically when Russia wasn't able to help Syria anymore, like that's how they were able to take over Syria. And it's just like you're going to Russia. Like you've only been in power for like a few, like since like December. Like it's really weird. And I wonder like what people in like the Sunni Muslim community feel about that. Um, because it's just like, why are you going there? Like to ask for something, just call them, dude. Like you don't need to go and shake hands and sit with Putin. Like
international war criminal, by the way.
Right. You know what I mean? I'm like, so to me, it just seems like, okay, like you're making nice with like
harboring the dictator that killed your people.
Like, yeah, like for me, it just looks like, okay, you're gonna go to make nice with like the big dictator man, and you're gonna also be big dictator man in Syria. Like, it's really just like it blew my mind. And I also feel like him doing that is gonna like bring more pressure on him from Israel. Like right now, Israel's chilling on Syria a bit. I think they kind of like flexed on Syria enough, but like in the near future, they're gonna be like back like taking land and maybe officially annex some more land and stuff like that. Now, granted, I was never supportive of the Syrian quote unquote revolution because I don't support revolutions that America backs. I don't do that personally. But I just wonder if people feel betrayed. Right. I wonder if people feel like some kind of sense of betrayal. I'm going to say this is way out of the realm of what anybody cares about at all, for real, but I'll just say it really fast, and I apologize. In Egypt during like the Arab Spring, when the former president Hosni Mubarak was ousted, and Mohamed Morsi was his name, who got elected president of Egypt at that time. A little bit after his election, he went to Iran. And I don't know, like, they had some kind of like, meeting with Iran or whatever. And people were up in arms because Iran was seen as an ally of Syria government, and that was the war. So I'm just like, okay, why the hell is this fool? Like, is he going to go to Iran? Like, you might as well. But yes, Narwhal, he did say that he demands Israel to leave the territory, but I'm pretty sure that he's going to sign the Abraham Accords and keep his goddamn mouth shut.
While we're like in the like, honestly, I was interested in all of this, but I did want to like bring it back to something that is in the news and also in the rundown. Thank you, Sachi. Russia and Ukraine and Trump's like flip-flopping on like we didn't do the show last week, but and to be honest, I only have like done a passing read of it, but my read is that Trump threw a fit and started throwing maps around and yelling and cursing and took off his shirt or something. I'm misremembering some of the details, but like he was mad at Zelensky for insisting on not giving Russia any land, and the Tomahawk missiles were also a big deal. Putin didn't want Ukraine to have Tomahawk missiles because those could strike Moscow. like those would be like some real missiles, and there's no like. I don't know if you've seen the size of Israel versus the size of Russia, but there's like Iron Dome doesn't really work. It's not a practical solution for Russia. Like that said, what they lack in Iron Dome, they make up for a massive nuclear arsenal, the largest in the world. America ain't got shit on that actually. And so the provocation is there. Also, in addition to the largest nuclear arsenal in the world, they have access to the second largest nuclear arsenal in the world because Trump is largely a puppet of Putin. There's some times where he's like played around in the past, and right now he's doing this thing where he's adding additional sanctions onto Russian oil. But yeah, I'm curious if you're like, what is the stance of this right now? I've hated using the word stalemate in this thing, but like it's.
Oh, I'm following it. Bam is all over the geopolitics, and I am one person on the left that is interested in the Ukraine and Russia war. Trump did have a funny ass tweet a couple weeks ago when he was like saying like damn Russia, like you should have ended this war in 3 weeks. Are you a paper tiger? It's like, yes, dude. Like the Russian army is notorious since the 90s for being trash, actually. And they're still trash. I like basically there is basically a stalemate on the front lines. But Russia is still like attacking civilian targets within the big cities in Ukraine, and it's really a shame. And obviously, we're not seeing the same numbers as Gaza, but like every day, every other day, there's like it'll be usually like less than a dozen, but people are dying for no reason because the Russian army is garbage, and it's like go. If you're gonna fight a war, like go fight the war. But like bombing apartment buildings inside cities is just like disgusting. But at the same time, oh yeah, the tomahawks. Yeah, Ukraine was asking for tomahawks. Trump for like a couple weeks was saying like, yeah, we're probably gonna give it to him. We might give it to him. Had a phone call with Putin. Met with Zelensky. We're not gonna give it to him. At no point did I think that like. Everything that Trump does is for the benefit of Russia for the most part, but like without seeming like too on Russia's side. But at the same time, what Ukraine has been doing is been attacking oil refineries. And they've attacked like maybe like a third of Russia's major oil refineries. There's been reports that up to 40% of them are offline. For a while, they couldn't export oil for a little bit. I don't know if that's still the case. There was like gas station lines for an unusual way within certain parts of Russia because the refineries were getting attacked. I think that there's like a cynical way to look at this situation, and then there's just the reality. Like the reality is like in my opinion, the fact that Russia is still like fighting this war shows that they lost. Like you already lost if you're still 3 years, is about to be 4 years, and you're still fighting against little old Ukraine. Like, just give it up at this point.
You're borrowing just to keep up with like fucking Estonian just keep Estonian defenses, right? Through NATO and through like the United States and Germany and other like stronger like countries like that, right? They're having to buy drones from Iran, which they do make some pretty good drones, to be fair. Get defensive technologies and share defensive technologies with India. And I think, India's really good with a lot of their defensive technologies too. Like ask the Pakistanis. But like the worst part is we're running out of Russians to send. We've brought in all the prisoners. We've arrested more people. We've brought them into. Everyone's getting killed. Let's send it to North Koreans.
Oh, Dan, not just North. Okay, the North Koreans is bad enough, but like they're doing what do they used to call like during like the English were like known for this press gangs. Like they would just like get some hapless drunk off a dock and just like grab him, put him on a boat. He like wakes up and he's like, "Yeah, you're working on the boat now, fool." Like they're doing that like all in Africa in like Nepal. They're like scamming people to go fight in Russia. Like it's like
I shouldn't be laughing, but like
no, it's dead ass.
It's just that's how cooked they are. Is like
no, like literally, like they're doing the same thing they get like the women to go be like they're getting like sex trafficked in like Italy and stuff like that. They're doing the same thing, like, oh no, you're gonna go to school in Russia, you know what I mean? Like it's gonna be like hella white girls and you're gonna be in university. They get there from Mali or from Ghana or whatever, and they are sent to the front lines. Like literally. Like the only thing that sucks is that I just don't know like why this is happening. It's just like, what is Vladimir Putin's end game? Is he senile, or is he just trying to like my conspiracy brain is he's just trying to like get rid of more young men. Like let's get rid of like let us like debilitate a lot of young men because that's going to be the energy to like bring down this situation. Um or is it just like he really is just you know, an imperialist and he wants to win this war by any means, you know? Like, but it's like, dude, like you got your president, you got Donald Trump in there, and for a while they weren't sending weapons to Ukraine. I think they are sending weapons now, but they're sending them through like they're not sending them in the way that Biden was. And it's still like I think under Biden, like there was like some limitations on what weapons they would send. They didn't really want Ukraine striking too deep into Russia under the Biden administration. And it's been the same under Trump too, you know, like, but for sure, Russia has had an advantage since Trump has been president, but it's like they're not taking advantage of it. They're just sitting here having hella casualties, injuries, and deaths from their soldiers on the front lines. And now they're getting their oil refineries bombed or like, you know, debilitated by drones. Before that, Ukraine was occupying part of Russia. What was the Kursk region? I don't know if they're still there or not, but that's where they had to send the North Korean soldiers to defend a Russian land. But yeah, it's really a shame. Like I wish I'm so anti-war. Like I really just want all the wars to end. And who knows? America might be having another one. Well, they damn near was fighting a war against the 5 freeway here in Southern California because, they're firing artillery and shrapnel and stuff fell on the 5.
Live shells, dude.
Fell on the 5. So they fought a war in California already. But,
honestly, although the number of times I shouldn't say it right now, but a president waging war on Orange County was not something I necessarily thought. You know what? I have actually just the sound clip for that. Let me.
No, it's not Orange County. It's North County, San Diego. It was in Oceanside.
Well,
I'm gonna buy some mother f bleep guns.
If it was Orange County, I was gonna.
Thank you, President Trump.
But no, like the thing that I feel like, when I was at the No Kings protests last Saturday in Whittier, California,
libbed
up, I saw a guy with a "No War on Venezuela" sign. And let me just say the commies were out. The ones from the Revolutionary Communist Party, like that one. They had a table. They were out there. They were calling people comrade and everything. Caesar got all excited. They called him comrade. But no, there was a guy with a "No War on Venezuela," like a small little sign. And I was told Caesar, I was like, I want to talk to him like before we march or whatever. So after the speeches, I went to talk to him and we were talking about, this seems like a possibility. Like the Trump administration is already assassinating groups of people on the high seas in a way that's like it's really like shameful. It's like, what's going on? I mean, obviously the American, every administration since, I mean, since I can remember Clinton doing it too, has, killed random people and shit. But like, this just seems a bit more targeted, and a bit less like precise, but it's kind of also leading up to what could possibly be military action on Venezuela. For whatever reason, Donald Trump announced that the CIA is doing operations within Venezuela. Odd for him to say that.
He said that he can't mention that. He won't talk about that. He said it's a dumb question, and why would he ever answer that question if it was a thing? He's being coy. He's playing a game like, oh well, if I told you it wouldn't be a secret, like.
Right, and it's like also like, buddy, the CIA been in Venezuela for 30 years, dog. Like, you swear, like it's been since there's a CIA, they were in Venezuela. There's been oil there the whole time. They got somebody there, buddy. If it's not just the ambassador.
Yeah, I just don't. Trump's weekend warrior sort of energy, let me rephrase this. The CIA's weekend warrior energy, is just, oh no, Bam's getting tired.
Getting late out here.
But you're telling me, the weekend warrior energy you get from the CIA right now, this is not the cooing kind of CIA. You may have like the presidents who want to do that, but it's just not going to work, dog. Like, the U.S. military, despite deploying them on American cities, is not built for a ground invasion of Venezuela.
That me and the guy were talking about it. I'm like,
some of the deadliest forests in the world. Florida is a McDonald's play place compared to Venezuelan forest.
It's like, what are you like? Where like I was talking.
The air wants to kill you. The water wants to kill you. The bugs want to kill you. The trees want to kill you. I'm not even talking about the animals yet.
Right. Then the people. I was talking to the guy about it. I'm like, I just don't even understand like how you invade Venezuela, because Iraq, like, you just pull up in Kuwait and you drive across the desert. This shit's flat as hell. Like, like it's and nobody's gonna even shoot at you. Like, the Iraqi military didn't have no damn howitzers or nothing. You could just drive right across that shit. Venezuela, you got to pull up in the boat. I mean, you could start bombing Caracas. You could start doing that, but like, that's not how you win the war. Like, you got to like put boots on the ground. And it's like, you got to.
North America invented guerrilla warfare for this reason.
Literally, it's like, how are you going to do that? So there's a part of me that's like, okay, it's kind of impossible, but like, I could see Trump doing the same thing. Like, let's go send these troops to the meat grinder. And in the meantime, like, I can declare martial law if there's protests about it.
Yeah, it's like, I'm not going to say that. Anyways, it is just so troubling. The way that Trump just feels like he has the impunity to just like
murder.
Call in the rod from God for like to me. Like calling the space lasers for some damn like rowboats.
It's really crazy. It's like, what the hell, dude? Like, I was watching something and they were talking about like
talk about a giveaway to like Boeing and Northrop Grumman.
Trump was saying the boats are too fast or whatever. And I saw some guy who was saying like, no, they're not. Like, you see the boat, you bring out a helicopter, the helicopter pulls out the freaking machine gun and they make the boat stop. They'll stop. Then the boat comes, they board the boat. Are there drugs on here? Are you trafficking people? No. Okay, you're good. Like, like nobody's trying to act like there isn't like, crime on the seas. Like, of course it's Earth, like, you know what I mean? But to just arbitrarily fire on a boat and you're saying there's drugs on there, we ain't seen no evidence of that. It's like, come
the
on,
evidence
dude.
they're showing are pictures from other countries from other years.
It's like, how you gonna tell me there's drugs on here? You blew it up. Like, what the hell? Did it turn into crack in the air? The cocaine? This shit just crystallized, and y'all got high in the freaking thing? Like, what the hell?
We found drugs on the shelves.
It's like, goddamn, dude. Like, no, it's really gross. I hope there's no plans on any kind of like bombing or invasion of Venezuela. That'll be really sad and a shame. I wonder what it would do to the MAGA kind of ethos around Trump being anti-war. Although this is the guy who bombed Iran. I don't know.
If I could, Bam, because like while we're in the region, we're going around the globe really quickly. Speaking of, we're wondering how MAGA is going to think about this sort of anti-war America first thing, which like biggest come on ever. But let's talk about Argentina, where Trump is giving a $40 billion subsidy. Loan basically to bail out their economy, and just came out today. Even my economics brain can't really word this right, so let me try to like make this as clear and simple as possible. Trump is adjusting the import limits for Argentinian beef to help to boost one of the biggest markets in Argentina, which is their beef industry. American cattle ranchers are like, nigga, what the fuck? Literally, they're like, dude, what? We're hurting out here, and we're gonna buy Argentinian like Trump's own agriculture secretary, like the head of the USDA, was like, I don't know, these Argentinian beef might be have foot and mouth disease. So I'm not sure we can be bringing it in. And I'm like, you know what? God has a sense of humor. But anyways, it's not even really confirmed. And again, like this is Trump's USDA head, so take it with no grains of salt. But if your Department of Agriculture secretary is saying this beef is diseased, and Trump is like, we're buying 4 times more of it than we usually do. Literally quadrupling the previous amount. Like it was usually like, let's say it was like 20,000 tons or whatever. Now it's 80,000 tons you can bring in. Again, another giveaway to Argentina. Meanwhile, beef producers in America were already struggling. The price of beef is going up just like across the board. And Trump's response is, have you seen the ballroom? Have you seen the blueprints? Federal workers aren't getting paid, but have you seen the blueprints?
I wonder how much those contractors are getting paid to tear the White House down.
Dude, do you know the only reason that planes are flying in the United States of America is because the FAA is just letting them do coke now. They're just letting air traffic controllers do coke now.
Literally, it's called slavery. They're working for free.
Sounds like a choice to me.
Literally, the Trump Argentina shit is insane because I'm also like, the thing is, like, you're bailing out Argentina's economy or whatever, but the thing that Milei did was like basically fire people and cut their cut the social safety net.
Doge.
So if he's gonna re-implement that, that's what the people want. They want that stuff back. But if he's like, okay, I'm gonna take this money and I'm gonna give y'all the money that I took away, it's like, well, then your policies were wrong. He's gonna do bad in the midterms no matter what. Like, people in Argentina are not like, oh wow, look, he was able to get some money from Daddy Trump, and we're not, now we should vote for him. Like, they're gonna be like, you're a little bitch You said that this shit was going to make the economy better, not that you were going to go get a loan from Trump.
But Bam, are you sure about that? Because Trump even said that if Milei doesn't win or his party doesn't do well in the midterms, that's the condition of the money going to Argentina.
Yeah,
so
he
maybe
said we're not going
to convince.
No,
Yeah,
it's
so
not.
like maybe that could convince some Argentina. I know I'm joking. But
Yeah, like he said we're not going to be as generous with Argentina. People got pride, dude. Like they're not going to be like, oh, we're just waiting for
I can
American
feel
money.
the middle fingers from like Argentina, like all the way from here.
You know, like Argentina is not like.
Yo, the World Cup would be so funny if we still end up hosting that shit, which, you know, FIFA is not above it. Like that's a fucking fact. FIFA is not above it. But if we're still hosting the World Cup in 2026, Argentina is gonna be so funny to watch. The fans are gonna be so funny.
They're all gonna have like Malay masks with like bullseyes. The like. Oh, and somebody mentioned it. Trump mega donors, Scott Besson, and these guys, they have like a lot of money tied up with Argentina and stuff. So yeah, it's really just a bailout. It's a handout for them too. But it's just ultimately Malay's thing was like, I'm gonna cut these programs. It's gonna rejuvenate the economy, and then we're all gonna eat off that. That's not how it works. It's not gonna work. And so they're like, if you're like, okay, I'm going to take this money and give it back, then you just look stupid. So it's like, yeah, we're expecting y'all to pocket that shit for the most part, or at least like it goes to a lot of the big wealthy people in or industries in Argentina. So some people will benefit, maybe the cattle farmers and some of the soy farmers and things like that, but the Argentine people are not going to look at that like, oh, we need to keep voting for. I mean, I hope so. Hopefully they don't let me down, but I think they'll have enough pride to say like, this guy never said that his policy was, I'm going to get money from America. He said that his own policies within his country were going to work. The fact that you need to go get money from America shows how whack you are. And also, I think somebody said it in the chat. I don't know if it was Bad Lefty or not. Yeah, Bad Lefty said, if you think Argentina's going to pay you back, you're crazy. Argentina ain't paying back their loans. That's the IMF.
Yeah, first of all, like, story of the IMF is just like South American countries saying, I'm good for it. Can I pay you back on Wednesday for a burger today, ass country?
Literally, like that shit is like, it's not gonna work.
And like, it's not, it's not to say anything about like a culture. I'm not making some like racialist or nationalist argument. It's just like, these are countries like, you're asking someone who just got out of slavery to get a credit card. It's just like, you're tying them to rules and effectively a system of another form of slavery that on the one hand, if that slave wants a house or to be able to rent, like they need some sort of credit report or credit history, but on the other hand, like there's just a predatory sort of like concept, right? So
Argentina right now owes the IMF $57 billion. But you know what they said? You know what Argentina said? Sanction me with your army. You got an army? Come bring your army down. Oh, you ain't got one? and I just saw that it says U.S. banks are hunting for collateral to back the $20 billion Argentina bailout. Nigga, please.
What? Watching me killing Mike's Greenwood Bank too. All it's gonna be like, to your point, like it's gonna be a bunch of Trump's friends who are gonna benefit off of it, and a lot of Trump's friends, especially right now, are in crypto. And so what's probably gonna dude, man, like there's already like the disaster capitalism that Naomi Klein had written the book about, and like this sort of like crypto fascism that we've been seeing through like Curtis Yarvin and all that sort of like historical stuff. But it is so dark to think that this international bailout, like one likely financial asset of it is going to be like it's going to be bailed out by crypto. And like, that's not anything. It's not going to hold up the economy. Like, there's AI and crypto are wrapped up together, and thankfully not, unfortunately not enough, because like AI is a bubble that's about to crash, right? But like, the bubble is about to burst rather. And when you look at all of my reporter friends are saying they're drawing the money flows between all of these companies, and they're seeing circles and loops. And you don't need to know about economics, but circles and loops create bubbles. that's just how it is. And that's also a bar, I'll be honest. But it is very dark to think, like, imagine if we bailed out the US economy in 2008 by using the money that we thought we had from subprime loans. That's kind of the idea. It's like we're using monopoly money for this bailout of a real country. And like I really don't know what the omni ramifications for that. I don't think it's gonna end in like Bitcoin ATMs and whatever, like ledger or whatever they're a blockchain ledger or all that other different shit. I don't think it's gonna end well like for them. Like, I think people are still gonna want to buy pizzas, and they're not going to want to have to go through Coinbase to do it.
Right.
The Argentinian central bank is to loans what the Fire Festival was to festivals, music events. Thank you, Bad Lefty.
Yeah, and honestly, I wonder also what MAGA people are feeling about this. Like, this is not America first. Going back to the beef thing, I did see one of Trump's tweets. I can't remember the whole thing, but he was saying like, the beef farmers should be happy because the beef prices are high because of the tariffs I put on Brazil. And this is just a little hiccup or whatever, but the beef prices are the high beef prices are because of me, so they should be thanking me actually. And it's like, okay, but like coffee's higher too. I think. I mean, I'm pretty sure it is. I don't drink coffee anymore, but
me neither.
I think orange juice is one of the big exports from Brazil too. Is orange juice higher? Somebody tell me. But I do just wonder, what are the MAGA faithful thinking about this 20 or to 40 or 40 to $20 billion bailout going to a country that for them, that ain't white people? Like, they're like, well, look, dude, if you're going to be bailing somebody out, like at least bail out whitey. Like, for MAGA people, Argentina ain't whitey. For Latin America, it's whitey. But for a MAGA freaking dude from Tennessee, I'm not going to say no slurs. But what?
That'd be a first.
So I'm just like, what the hell are they thinking? There's so many things that happen. I'm just like, what do the MAGA people think? Like, what do the hat wearers think? Like, what do y'all think about this? That your taxpaying dollars are going to go to Argentina just so they can be a little bit better. Like,
it's not really like, it's like trying to refuel a Concorde in midair as you're trying to fly across the world. Like, it's just, 40
and the Concorde is discontinued, so it's actually not there.
Yeah, it's like it's and the Concorde is flying Malaysian 330. Like, like it's
Wait, was it 317? I can't remember.
Or 370, I don't know what is, but you know what I'm talking about, right?
Not laughing at the plane crash.
Us laughing at the plane crash. us conspiracizing about the plane crash while we have free speech to give. No, but this isn't a $40 billion investment. This is a $40 billion, like pay off the bills, right? There isn't any, like it's corruption. It's not, to my knowledge, like, Bam, correct me if I'm wrong, but Argentina's not sitting on, they're not sitting on a bunch of like rare earth mineral. I think they might have some rare earth minerals. I don't know if they have oil. Like, I know they have a lot of agricultural exports.
It's a lot of agriculture. Right? It's like wine and soy and beef and like, I'm sure they have some tech stuff, but like grain, things like that.
Guess what country's buying a lot of Argentinian soy?
China.
You want to know why China is buying a lot of Argentinian soy?
Because they're not buying ours.
Yes. I wonder what the MAGA soybean farmers have to say about that.
They're going to say we don't want transgender for everybody.
Thank you. That's I hate how we've done call and response for this. One of these days, Bam and I are going to drive up to 5, and we're going to see how many of those signs we still see about Trump is going to fix the drought. We're going to see how many there are. The answer is more than there were before 2020. I have yet to see, with how quickly ICE is doing all of these, horrendous roundouts or whatever. I've yet to see all of the stories on Fox News of white middle Americans rejoicing at all of the strawberry picking jobs they're now taking.
Right.
Because, they were like, I used to be sitting on my parents' couch at home playing video games all day because I didn't have a job. Now I'm, reliving the jungle working for a Tyson meat plant and, ripping wings off of chickens and throwing them onto a conveyor belt.
No. Taking defeathering chickens.
Fucking, I'm not hearing a bunch of those stories, actually. It's weird. It must be because the news media is lying.
Right. No, it's crazy.
Thank you, President Trump.
I just really wonder what they are saying about stuff like that. Like, what do you say about a $40 billion handout to Argentina? What do you say about that? I know that they can justify Trump asking for $230 million from the Department of Justice / the American taxpayer. They can justify that.
Slash himself.
Right. They can justify that all day because at least he's like, oh no, he was aggrieved and whatever. Okay, cool. What do you say when it's 40 or 20 billion to people that you would want to deport from here? I actually went to college with a girl who was undocumented from Argentina. I would say her name because it's an interesting name, but I won't do that. She probably got papers now.
I'm just gonna with Bam, you're sleepy. That's all I'm gonna say.
It's late.
Let's your reaction when I said ripping the wings off chickens was priceless. It's like
I'm like, no, not the wings. Yeah, that was a vegan moment. I was like, no, the feathers, not the wings. Damn.
How you think they get the bone out wings at Wingstop, man?
I was like, oh man, that's rough.
I honestly have to take a shower after that one. Anyways, this isn't the funniest story, but there were two things I wanted to mention with the 15 minutes we had left. And we did start 20 minutes late, so I'm kidding.
Okay.
That oh god was so genuine. But yeah, shout out to Sachi again. Let's get some shout out Sachis in the chat. But okay, cool. We can end on a fun note, thankfully.
Well, we laugh at everything anyway, so
That's true. Still the most entertaining global news show, and unfortunately, world news domestic news show out there. But this was yet another one of those stories, because here we are. And maybe I felt some type of way from this because I've had a similar experience with like a clerical error with some of my very important documents, and just having to kind of like work and live through that and hoping that people just understand. I'm going to read this story from WDBJ7 News out in Queen Creek, Arizona. An 8th grade boy from Arizona was removed from his high school boys basketball tryouts and told he could only play on the girls' team because of a clerical error on his birth certificate. Sitting in his kitchen island doing homework, Laker Jackson, an 8th grade student at Eastmark High School, is thinking about his time outside the classroom. I'm just gonna have part of this article showing here while I'm going through this. But here is Laker Eastman here, a kid from Arizona, as you can tell from the name. I like the team aspect of the sport a lot. I like to play basketball, I wrestle, and I like football a lot. Article continues, but the multi-talented athlete was excluded from high school basketball tryouts last Tuesday because of a clerical error on his original birth certificate. His mother, Becky Jackson, says there was a mix-up at the hospital the day he was born. I give him the birth certificate, and they're like, "Did you know this says female?" Jackson says. I was like, "Oh man, that's so funny." So we come home, everyone's laughing. Over the years, the fact that Laker's birth certificate mistakenly listed him as female hasn't caused him any issues until he decided to try out for the boys' team. They sent the athletic director of Eastmark High to physically remove Laker from the basketball tryouts in front of all of his friends and in front of the coach. The Unified School District said in a statement that wants to ensure, quote, fairness, integrity, and equal opportunity, end quote, when it comes to athletics. Because Laker's birth certificate lists him as female, he has been told he has to play on either the co-ed or the girls' basketball teams, saying that the schools require a birth certificate in order to determine eligibility. So, unfortunately, we're kind of
keep reading that next part.
Okay. Laker's parents got a corrected birth certificate along with a note from the doctor, but the district says it isn't enough. Quote, now they may consider changing it if we get chromosomal testing. They didn't say they would. It says they may. Of course, chromosomal testing comes with a hefty price tag, and the Jacksons feel that the district is missing the mark altogether.
Insane. No, the funny part is like they have a co-ed team. So like, what the hell is the issue? like if the whole thing is about like, I mean, I don't even know like their arguments and shit for this stuff for real, but like you have co-ed teams, so obviously you don't even think it's that crazy. Like, right? I don't know.
I guess it's just like your birth certificate says you're a female, so you're a female. Because humans can't make mistakes on paperwork.
Right.
And like it's a world where it's perfectly common, and we just kind of have to expect this now, that we have 12-year-old kids who have gone through full sex changes and are trying to get into sports, right? Like, because Republicans live in this fantasy world, because you've had absolute ghouls like Matt Walsh who have like done this whole like what is a woman thing, which, by the way, Fat L here. Fat L here. Because now this panic has prevented a man from being able to participate in men's sports. We always say that like all of these attacks towards trans and gay people are going to end up coming back on women. Now we've gone so accelerationist that men are being straight, or at least ostensibly cis men, whatever Laker chooses to do and the rest of Lakers' life, bless the person. But like a cis man wants to play sports with other cis men in school, and he can't do it because of the trans panic.
So he's got to go dunk on the girls.
Yeah. Now he's got to play with the girls. You know what? Now he can go full in and play on the girls' team, not just the co-ed team. He could just play on the girls' team and windmill dunk on the girls' team. Just saying, like, fucking, it's in the name. Laker could start posterizing these like middle school girls, and Republicans will be like, "Yep, she's just got the talent."
Right. The crazy part,
so basically, like, long story short, they live in a fantasy world, and
literally,
all those of us who like have regular brains have to walk by this, like, the naked guy doing the helicopter walking down the streets in San Francisco. It's just like he's existing in a different world than we are, and we just have to see the results of this.
It's really crazy, and I'm also kind of shocked. should I say this? I'm kind of shocked that the little dude, you know what I mean? Like, the athletic director's like, nah, dude, you can't play with the girls because you can't play with the boys, says you're a girl. I'm shocked he didn't just pull his pants down right there. Like, look, dude, like, okay, are we good now? Like, like, because I feel like a lot of kids was just like, what? Like, you want to, like, what the hell? But I don't know. This is like one of them random, I remember like America has so much random, crazy news stories going on. I literally watched a video of an FBI sting of a bestiality ring. Like, literally, they were trafficking sheep.
Oh, so quick question.
For sure.
Quick question. When you say you were watching a video of them busting the bestiality ring, what do you mean by that?
Okay, gross, but that's funny. Bad lefty. But no, and I think it was in Arizona too.
No.
I'm pretty sure it was in Arizona, if I'm not mistaken. Literally, and Dan, the guy was talking about the sheep, like, oh, like, she's a good one, like, oh, this is a good. I'm just like, yo, what's going on here, dude? Like, and Aaron, you're right.
But
it was literally
clear. Were they caught in the act during this video?
No. They were like, the person trafficked the sheep. Like, he was bringing the sheep to somebody else who was a sheep a connoisseur, and they it was a sting. And the guy didn't even get crazy
they caught
time.
Zoran Mamdani in a pimp outfit herding sheep into a white van.
No, it's crazy. America has so many crazy news stories. Just like you plug into the local news places, you're gonna find insane stuff. Like,
I honestly, I want to get back to doing that kind of power report. Honestly,
my god, yo! I remember seeing a whole story in New Mexico. There was like a woman who was like fresh out of prison. She was like dating her and her son were in a relationship, and like she like the neighbors called the cops on her, and like then she had to go back to prison, and she came back and they were still together. It was crazy.
I've gotta we gotta bring those stories back, because like I think there's the big headlines there, those are going on. They're meant to kind of shock us and make us sad. Someone else said in the chat earlier that, like, happiness is something that we need to like use for ourselves in this moment and like internalize for ourselves. And I definitely really agree with that. Not that we're definitely getting joy out of these stories, but definitely because they're offbeat and you can kind of learn these other political lessons through them. I definitely think, like in that case with the kids, it's like no one benefits from all of these bigotries for sure. What we learned from the bestiality story is Bam should clear his browser history.
It's my Instagram algorithm. It's insane.
You'll be so proud of me. I haven't had Instagram on my phone for a month and a half. Fully deleted it. I don't have it at all. The only thing I have is an app that allows me to access my DMs.
Okay.
And so I can still message people through it. And sometimes they send me posts, but it's so annoying to watch an Instagram video in a web browser. Half the time I usually just don't do it and I just react the same way everyone else does in the group chat. Like I just don't care. Sorry. So that's been great and I highly encourage it for you too. But I love Daddy loves some smut.
Well, hopefully you'll delete Twitter next.
I don't really use Twitter that much. And
I'm joking. I'm joking.
Really fast, and at the risk of extending this maybe 3 more minutes, but like a lot of the, backlash, this is back to the Graham Platner stuff, but a lot of the backlash that a lot of the commentators had was because they're reading posts on Twitter. And there are some crazy ass leftists saying shit like, how are we going to even trust a veteran to be a, progressive? It's just like, come on now.
The hell? Have you heard of Mike?
Peisner?
What's it, Happy Martin? Peisner, yeah. Have you heard of Mike Peisner?
Yeah. It's just like, it's not even worth dignifying with a response, right?
Right.
Who was that one guy who was like governor of Minnesota at one point? He was like a libertarian-ish, but like
Jesse the Body Ventura.
Yes. I don't even think he was military or ex-military or whatever, but like there's a lot of different.
He wasn't the Predator.
People are like, especially these commentators, are amplifying accounts that keep track of Jimmy Dore's pivot to the right in 2025. Like, even I I think that stuff was kind of interesting as he was making his pivot, but pivot made. I think it's like moveon.org. Like highlighting those sorts of people is just not very effective because Twitter was already a very small reflection of how people feel regardless. It's even smaller right now that it's mostly bot activity. So people should just not remember. And also thank you, Bad Lefty, for confirming that Jesse Ventura was a Navy SEAL.
In The Predator.
Okay. Bam, this is gonna keep you for like 5 more minutes, but this is a funny story. I promise.
No, honestly, but no, I do kind of gotta go because I'm gonna go somewhere in a little bit.
Okay,
you're extra, dude.
Okay, give me 30 seconds.
Okay, please.
The House Oversight Committee, Robert Garcia and Jamie Raskin, blocked the nomination of this guy, Dono Galo Ingracia, who wanted to be confirmed to be like a White House aide or something, right? Did you hear about the story?
Yeah.
Okay. Long story short, his mom walked up to all the offices and started. You didn't hear about this?
I didn't hear the mom story.
Okay. Well, basically, he said he's the guy who said he had a Nazi streak. He's the one in the text messages. Mm-hmm. They said his mom went to Raskin's office and went to Garcia's office in DC and demanded she get a meeting with both of them and got really belligerent about it, saying that they're saying mean things about her son, and hurting her feelings.
Oh my goodness.
I love white people, man. I love white people. You get the last word and then we can go.
Okay, last word. I did see Jamie Raskin on Blue Sky and I saw Ruben Gallego say out of his mouth, out of his whole grill, that Mike Johnson is protecting pedophiles. Said it straight up. And I was like, you know what? That's gangster. Said it straight like that.
That's insane. Super last thing. The mom said that people had pride, jealousy, wrath, greed, sloth, and envy, and they were deadly sins, and that's why they were trying to take down her son. And that Paul is a strong, unwavering Catholic who's a staunch supporter of President Trump's agenda. He's the best candidate for the job.
The best candidate who has a Nazi streak, self-admittedly.
Y'all. That's the best we got. Sorry. Y'all are cooked. see you next time. The power is always within you, though. So if you went to a protest, appreciate it. Bam, have a good rest of your night. I'm gonna go to sleep. But peace and
I know.
yeah, stay cool.